The disappearance of the San Juan, the rediscovery of Herculean, reminds us that some mysteries are buried deep waiting for the right moment to resurface, but not all stories from beneath the waves are about ancient civilizations. Some are far more recent and in many ways even more haunting, while Herculean rose again after centuries of being hidden. Beneath the sea, there are tragedies that remain unresolved, questions that linger in the core, in the depths without answers. One such mystery is the disappearance of the AR San Juan, a modern-day submarine that vanished without a trace in 2017. This isn't the story of a lost city, but of 44 sailors who embarked on a routine mission and never returned. What happened to the AR San Juan? Why did it disappear so suddenly? And why did it take over a year to uncover the truth? As we leave the ancient ruins of Herculean behind, let's dive into the unexplained tragedy of the RS Juan and uncover the chilling details of its final mission. On November 15, 2017, the AS San Juan, a diesel-electric submarine belonging to the Argentine Navy, set off on what should have been a routine mission. The submarine was one of Argentina's most advanced vessels, a German-built TR-1700 class boat designed for long-term operations. Commissioned in 1985, the San Juan had served the Navy for over 3 decades and had recently undergone a significant overhaul, a process meant to extend its operational life by another 30 years. The mission was straightforward. The San Juan had been tasked with patrolling Argentina's territorial waters, monitoring illegal fishing activities, and maintaining a visible presence in the South Atlantic. Its crew of 44 sailors was highly trained, a mix of experienced officers and promising recruits, all of them well prepared for the challenges of submarine operations. The South Atlantic, after all, is no easy place to navigate. Its waters are cold and rough, and the region is known for its unpredictable weather. The submarine departed from Ushuaia, a remote port city at the southernmost tip of Argentina, often referred to as the end of the world. From there, the San Juan began its journey northward, heading toward its home base in Mar del Plata, a bustling naval hub along Argentina's eastern coast. It was a familiar route, one the submarine had traveled many times before. By all accounts, the mission was progressing smoothly. On the morning of November 15th, the San Juan made contact with Naval Command, reporting its position and an update on its journey. During that communication, the crew mentioned encountering an electrical issue in the forward battery compartment. According to the report, seawater had entered through the submarine snorkel, causing a short circuit in the battery system. While this was a potentially serious issue, the crew assured Naval Command that they had isolated the affected compartment and were continuing their journey under control. That was the last anyone heard from the AR San Juan when the submarine failed to check in. Later that day, concern began to mount. Submarines by design often operate silently, cutting off communication to maintain stealth. A missed check-in wasn't immediately alarming, but as the hours passed, Naval Command began to fear the worst. The San Juan was officially declared missing, and Argentina launched a massive search and rescue operation. Families of the crew gathered at the naval base in M. del Plata, desperate for any news, while the Navy scrambled to locate the vessel. The search for the San Juan quickly grew into one of the most extensive submarine rescue efforts in history. Within days, Argentina had enlisted the help of 18 countries, including the United States, Russia, and the United Kingdom. Each brought advanced technology and expertise to the operation, from state-of-the-art sonar systems to specialized underwater drones. Despite the international effort, the South Atlantic proved to be a formidable adversary. The waters where the San Juan disappeared were vast and treacherous, stretching thousands of miles in every direction. The submarine's last known location was near the San Juan Gulf, an area where the seabed drops dramatically into deep underwater trenches. These depths, combined with strong currents and unpredictable weather, made the search a logistical nightmare. As ships and aircraft scoured the area, hope remained that the San Juan might still be intact, its crew alive. But stranded submarines are equipped with emergency oxygen supplies which can last for several days in the event of a malfunction if the crew had managed to seal the damage. Compartment and surface, there was a chance they could still be rescued, but as the days turned into weeks, the reality of the situation began to set in. One of the most chilling clues came from an international organization that monitors hydroacoustic signal sounds generated by underwater events like earthquakes, explosions, or submarine activity. On the same day the San Juan went silent, sensors detected an unusual acoustic event near the submarine's last known position. The sound was consistent with what experts describe as an implosion. This suggested that the San Juan might have suffered a catastrophic failure, its hull collapsing under the immense pressure of the ocean. The revelation was devastating. If the Ningen had imploded, it would have been instantaneous, leaving no time for the crew to react or send a distress signal. But even with this grim evidence, the exact location of the submarine remained a mystery. The search continued, with naval ships deploying sonar arrays to scan the ocean floor and aircraft flying search patterns over the area. Yet despite these efforts, the San Juan seemed to have vanished without a trace. As the days turned into weeks, tensions began to rise. Families of the crew gathered at the naval base in Mar del Plata grew frustrated with the lack of information. Protests erupted with accusations that the Navy had neglected safety protocols and mishandled the search. The incident became a national controversy, shining a harsh spotlight on the state of Argentina's military and its aging equipment. By the end of November, the search had officially shifted from a rescue mission to a recovery operation. Hopes of finding survivors had faded, replaced by the grim task of locating the wreckage and uncovering the truth of what had happened. But the ocean remained silent, its depths guarding the secrets of the San Juan. It would take over a year of painstaking effort before the mystery would finally begin to unravel. As the months dragged on and the wreckage of the San Juan remained, elusive speculation about what caused the submarine's disappearance began to dominate discussions. The lack of definitive answers left room for multiple theories, some rooted in evidence, others more speculative. Each theory painted a chilling picture of how a seemingly routine patrol could have ended in catastrophe. One of the leading theories focused on the electrical issue. The crew reported just before their final transmission, San Juan's batteries, critical to its operation, were vulnerable to failure if seawater infiltrated the compartments housing them. According to the submarine's last communication, seawater had entered through the snorkel, causing a short circuit in the forward battery compartment. While the crew assured Naval Command that the situation was under control, experts suggested that the problem may have been far more serious than initially reported. A plausible scenario is that the short circuit generated hydrogen gas, a byproduct of electrical malfunctions in lead-acid batteries. If hydrogen gas accumulated in the confined space of the battery compartment, even a small spark could have triggered a massive explosion. This would align with the hydroacoustic anomaly detected near the submarine's last known location, a sound consistent with an implosion or an underwater explosion. Another possibility is that the San Juan suffered structural failure due to the immense pressure of the deep ocean. Submarines are designed to operate at specific depths, with their hulls engineered to withstand the crushing W of water. However, over time, wear and tear can weaken even the most robust structures. The San Juan was over 30 years old and had undergone a major refit in 2014, during which many of its parts were replaced or repaired. Critics have questioned whether the refit was thorough enough, suggesting that flaws in the submarine's hull might have gone unnoticed. If the San Juan descended below its safe operating depth, the pressure could have caused the hull to collapse almost instantaneously. There is also speculation about external factors. The South Atlantic is a vast and busy region frequented by fishing vessels, commercial ships, and even foreign submarines. Some have wondered whether the San Juan might have collided with another vessel either above or below the surface. A collision at depth could have severely damaged the submarine, leaving it unable to surface or send a stress signal. Others have suggested that the submarine might have been accidentally struck by a torpedo or mine, although there is no evidence to support this theory. One of the more controversial ideas is that the San Juan was involved in a covert operation at the time of its disappearance. Some sources claimed the submarine was monitoring illegal fishing activity, or even foreign military movements in the area. This has led to speculation that the San Juan might have encountered another nation's submarine or been targeted as part of a deliberate act of aggression, while the Argentine Navy has denied these claims. The secrecy surrounding the mission has fueled conspiracy theories. Perhaps the most sobering theory is that the San Juan was simply a victim of the unforgiving environment in which submarines operate. The ocean is vast, powerful, and indifferent to human life, a combination of mechanical failure, human error, and environmental factors could have conspired to create a perfect storm of tragedy. The lack of immediate answers only deepened the mystery, leaving families and experts to grapple with questions that seemed destined to remain unanswered for over a year. Our San Juan lay hidden beneath the waves, its fate unknown. The search operation, though extensive, had struggled against the sheer scale of the South Atlantic and the technical challenges of locating a submarine in such deep waters. As months turned into a year, hope of finding the vessel seemed to dwindle. But in November 2018, there was finally a breakthrough. A private company hired by the Argentine government, Ocean Infinity, joined the search effort with advanced technology capable of mapping the ocean floor in incredible detail. Their ship, the Seabed Constructor, was equipped with autonomous underwater vehicles, AWS robotic systems designed to operate at extreme depths. These AWS could scan the seabed with sonar and high-resolution cameras, providing a level of precision that previous searches had lacked. On November 17, 2018, just days after the first anniversary of the San Juan's disappearance, Ocean Infinity made a startling discovery over 3,000 feet below the surface in an area previously searched but not thoroughly mapped. They found the wreckage of the submarine. The images sent back by the AWS revealed a haunting scene. The San Juan's hull was crushed and twisted, its sections scattered across the seabed. The submarine had clearly suffered a catastrophic failure. Its structure imploded by the immense pressure of the deep ocean. The location of the wreckage was consistent with the acoustic anomaly detected shortly after the submarine's last communication. This suggested that the San Juan had been lost within hours of its final transmission. The implosion would have been instantaneous, occurring so quickly that the crew would not have had time to react or send a distress signal. It was a sobering confirmation of the worst fears surrounding the submarine's fate. For the families of the 44 sailors, the discovery brought a mix of relief and heartbreak. After a year of uncertainty, they finally had some answers, but the sight of the shattered wreckage was a painful reminder of the tragedy. Many family members expressed frustration with the Argentine Navy, accusing it of mishandling the search and failing to ensure the safety of the submarine. The incident sparked widespread calls for reform within Argentina's military, with demands for better maintenance, training, and transparency. The discovery of the San Juan also highlighted the immense challenges of submarine operations. The vessel had been found in one of the most difficult environments imaginable, deep, cold, and remote. It was a testament to the dedication of those involved in the search that the submarine was located at all. Yet even with the wreckage in hand, many questions remain unanswered. What exactly caused the catastrophic failure? Could it have been prevented? And what lessons could be learned to ensure such a tragedy never happened again? The wreck of the San Juan remains on the seabed, a stark reminder of the risks faced by those who venture into the depths. Its discovery provided some closure, but also underscored the fragility of human life in the face of nature's immense power. The story of the Our San Juan is a somber chapter in the history of submarine exploration, one that continues to resonate as we push the boundaries of what is possible beneath the waves. Story 6, the unexplored depths of the Dragon Hole. From the depths of the Atlantic, where the tragic mystery of the Our San Juan still lingers, we now turn to an entirely different oceanic enigma, one hidden in the heart of the South China Sea. It's called the Dragon Hole, the deepest known blue hole on Earth, plunging over 1,000 feet into the unknown. What secrets could lie in its pitch-black depths? Is it merely a natural wonder, or could it hold answers to questions we've yet to even ask? Let's dive into the story of the Dragon Oh, imagine yourself in the middle of the vast South China Sea, where the water stretches endlessly, shimmering turquoise under the bright sun. It seems peaceful, almost serene. But beneath this surface lies one of the most mysterious and dangerous places on the planet, the Dragon Hole, known locally as the Eye of the South China Sea. This massive underwater sinkhole has been shrouded in mystery for centuries. The South China Sea is a region teeming with both natural beauty and legend. It's dotted with remote islands, treacherous reefs, and underwater formations that seem almost otherworldly. Among these, the Dragon Hole stands out not just for its staggering size, but for the countless stories and myths that surround it. Locals have long whispered that this dark chasm is the home of dragons and spirits, a place where the rules of the natural world don't apply. Sailors feared its pull, and fishermen warned each other to stay far away. And yet the Dragon Hole is real. It is not just a figment of local folklore, but a geological marvel. A nearly bottomless pit that plunges deep into the Earth's crust. Its entrance is deceptively beautiful, a perfect circle of dark blue that contrasts sharply with the vibrant turquoise of the surrounding water. But venture too close, and the illusion of tranquility disappears. The currents around the hole are unpredictable, capable of dragging even experienced sailors into its depths for centuries. No one dared to explore it. It was just a dark void, unexplored, and unknown, the kind of place that seems designed to swallow both curiosity and courage. That all changed in 2016 when a team of Chinese researchers decided to take on the challenge of exploring this ancient mystery. What they found would both amaze and confound scientists, leaving more questions than answers about this extraordinary place. In 2016, the Dragon Hole finally caught the attention of scientists determined to uncover its secrets. The discovery was sparked by satellite imagery that revealed the enormous circular formation in the middle of the sea. The research team, equipped with advanced sonar, diving gear, and remotely operated vehicles, set out to investigate. But exploring a place like this was no small feat. The South China Sea is remote and often dangerous, and the Dragon Hole's location near the disputed Paracel Islands only added to the logistical challenges. The first step was simply reaching the hole. The research vessel anchored at a safe distance, and the team began deploying equipment to measure the depth and dimensions of the sinkhole. What they found was staggering. At a depth of 987 feet, the Dragon Hole officially became the deepest blue hole ever discovered, surpassing even the famous Dean's Blue Hole in the Bahamas. Its width was equally impressive, with an entrance stretching over 430 feet across. It was as if nature itself had carved a perfect trapdoor into the ocean floor. But the real mystery lay beneath the surface. The team set an ROV into the depths, and the footage it captured was both haunting and mesmerizing. The descent began in clear, sunlit water. Schools of fish darted around the entrance, seemingly unaware of the abyss below. But as the ROV descended past 300 feet, the light began to fade. By 500 feet, the water was pitch black, and the temperature dropped dramatically. This was the point where life as we know it ceased to exist. The researchers discovered a distinct horizon, a sharp boundary between the oxygen-rich upper layers of the water and the lifeless depths below. This boundary acts as a barrier, preventing oxygen from circulating to the lower parts of the hole. As a result, the environment beyond this layer is completely anoxic, meaning it's void of oxygen. It's a hostile, almost alien world where survival is impossible for most forms of life. Despite the challenges, the team pushed further. The R's lights revealed jagged walls covered in sediment, evidence of the sinkhole's ancient formation. Unlike other blue holes with smooth sloping bottoms, the Dragon Hole's floor was uneven and fractured, hinting at the possibility of hidden caves or tunnels. These features immediately raised questions. Were these natural formations, or could they have been shaped by geological events or even by ancient civilizations? The researchers documented vibrant marine life near the surface, including colorful corals and unique fish species that thrived in the oxygen-rich layers. However, as the WWII continued to explore, the footage took on an eerie quality. The deeper it went, the more lifeless and desolate the environment became. By the time it reached the bottom, the silence was palpable. broken only by the hum of the R's machinery. The dragon hole wasn't just a sinkhole, it was a vertical time capsule, a place that had likely remained unchanged for thousands, if not millions of years. Its unique structure and conditions made it a scientific gold mine. The team collected water and sediment samples, hoping to analyze them for clues about the hole's history and its role in the ecosystem of the South China Sea. But for all their discoveries, the dragon hole remained enigmatic. Its depth and inaccessibility meant that many questions went unanswered. Could there be undiscovered life forms hiding in its darkest corners? Were there ancient artifacts or geological secrets buried beneath the sediment? The team left with more mysteries than they had solved, and the dragon hole continued to guard its secrets, a silent giant in the middle of the sea. The dragon hole isn't just a geological marvel, it's a place that sparks less speculation. Its sheer size and enigmatic nature have inspired theories ranging from the scientific to the supernatural, each one adding to its allure. One of the most widely discussed scientific theories is that the dragon hole could serve as a natural archive of Earth's history. Blue holes like this are often formed during periods of glaciation when sea levels were much lower. Over time, as water levels rose, these vertical sinkholes were flooded, preserving layers of sediment and microorganisms along their walls. By analyzing these layers, scientists could uncover secrets about ancient climate patterns, oceanic changes, and even mass extinction events. In other words, the dragon hole might hold a record of Earth's history written in the language of stone and sediment. But there's more. The unique boundary between oxygen-rich and anoxic layers of water within the dragon hole creates an environment that's rarely seen on Earth. Researchers speculate that these conditions might mimic those found in ancient oceans billions of years ago, when life on Earth was just beginning to emerge. Could the dragon hole hold microorganisms or chemical compounds that offer clues about the origins of life? It's a tantalizing idea, one that could rewrite what we know about our planet's past. Then there are the geological mysteries. The uneven floor of the dragon hole, with its jagged features and hidden crevices, has led some to wonder if it connects to an even larger underground network. Could there be tunnels or caverns branching off from the sinkhole, extending deep into the Earth's crust? If so, what might those spaces contain? Ancient fossils, rare minerals, or perhaps evidence of seismic activity that could provide insights into the region's geological history. Of course, not all theories are purely scientific. The dragon hole's legendary status among local fishermen has given rise to countless myths and stories. Some believe it's a portal to another world, a gateway where the physical and spiritual realms intersect. Others claim its curves a place where boats and even people vanish without a trace. These tales might sound far-fetched, but they reflect a deep respect and fear for the unknown. One particularly intriguing idea is that the dragon hole could have been significant to ancient seafarers. The South China Sea has been a vital trade route for centuries, and some wonder if the hole was marked on ancient maps as a landmark or warning. Could it have been a sacred site, a place of ritual or reverence for those who navigated these treacherous waters? Or could it be connected to the lost city of Lemuria, a mythical Pacific counterpart to Atlantis? While there's no evidence to support these claims, the possibility adds an extra layer of mystery to an already enigmatic place. And then there's the question of whether the dragon hole has claimed lives. Local legends tell of fishermen who disappeared after venturing too close to the hole, their boats swallowed by its powerful currents. While there's no definitive proof of these accounts, the dangers of the South China Sea are well documented. The combination of sudden storms, unpredictable tides, and the Piloli H's magnetic pull could easily turn a routine fishing trip into a fatal encounter. Whether fact or fiction, these stories contribute to the hole's eerie reputation. Despite all the theories, the dragon hole remains an enigma. For every question scientists answer, new mysteries emerge, reminding us just how little we know about our planet's oceans. The dragon hole isn't just a place, it's a reminder of the vast unexplored world that exists beneath the waves at nearly 1,000 feet deep. It's a testament to the power and mystery of nature, a vertical frontier that challenges our understanding of the Earth today. The dragon hole remains largely unexplored. The logistical and technological challenges of studying such a remote and extreme environment, meaning that much of its story is still untold. Even the deepest dives and most advanced equipment have barely scratched the surface of what lies within what could be waiting in the unexplored crevices at the bottom. Could there be undiscovered life forms adapted to the harsh conditions of the anoxic depths, or perhaps geological phenomena that we've never encountered before? The possibilities are endless. Some researchers speculate that blue holes like the Dragon Hole could be part of a global network of underwater sinkholes, each one connected by hidden tunnels. If true, this could have implications for everything from marine biology to underwater exploration. It might even change how we think about the movement of water and nutrients through the ocean's ecosystems. But the Dragon Hole isn't just about what we can learn, it's also about what we feel standing at the edge of such a vast, dark void. You can't help but feel a sense of awe and humility. It's a place where human knowledge meets its limits, where even the most advanced technology struggles to reveal the secrets hidden in the shadows for the locals. The Dragon Hole is more than just a scientific curiosity. It's a place of reverence and fear, a natural wonder that has inspired awe for generations to them. It's not just a hole in the ocean floor. It's a living symbol of the unknown, a reminder that some mysteries are meant to remain unsolved as researchers continue to study the Dragon Hole. One thing is certain, it will never lose its allure, whether it's a geological time capsule, a gateway to another world, or simply one of nature's most stunning creations. The Dragon Hole stands as a testament to the enduring power of mystery in a world where so much has been mapped and measured. It's a place that still defies explanation. And so the Dragon Hole waits silent and unmoving, holding its secrets deep within its depths. It challenges us to keep asking questions, to keep exploring, and to remember that no matter how much we think we know, there's always more to discover. Story 7, Antikythera Unexplained Treasure. From the mysterious depths of the Dragon Hole, where secrets are swallowed by thousands of feet of water, we now move to the sunlit seas of the Mediterranean, where an ancient enigma was uncovered. In 1900, the world was undergoing rapid transformation. Industrialization was at its height, nations were expanding their reach, and science was unlocking secrets of the natural world. Yet beneath the surface of the Iron Sea, an ancient secret lay hidden. A time capsule for more than 2,000 years ago, untouched and unknown. This secret was about to be uncovered not by scientists or explorers, but by a group of humble sponge divers. The Ningen has long been a vital lifeline for Greece. Its waters, dotted with islands, have been a hub for trade, exploration, and culture for thousands of years. But it's also a perilous region with unpredictable weather and jagged coastlines. Beneath its clear blue waves lies a graveyard of shipwrecked vessels that met their fates in storms or collisions, their treasures lost to the sea. The small island of Antikythera, situated between CRE and the Greek mainland, is a quiet and rocky place. At the turn of the 20th century, it was virtually unknown outside of Greece, a remote outpost surrounded by treacherous waters for local sponge divers. Though this region of the Am was their workplace, a place where they risked their lives to gather sponges from the sea floor, it was a dangerous profession, requiring them to dive to depths of over 100 feet with rudimentary equipment that offered little protection from the immense pressure and freezing water. On an autumn day in 1900, a group of these divers set out on what they thought would be an ordinary expedition led by Captain Demetrios Kondos. The crew anchored their ship near Antikythera, and prepared to dive. Among them was a young diver named Elias Statos, who would be the first to descend into the depths that day. Little did he know he was about to stumble upon one of the most extraordinary discoveries in archaeological history. Elias descended slowly, the weight of his diving suit pulling him downward into the murky depths. The deeper he went, the colder and darker it became, until finally his feet touched the seabed. As he scanned the ocean floor searching for sponges, something strange caught his eye. Rising out of the sand were shapes that didn't belong, objects that seemed carved and crafted, not formed by nature. At first he thought he had found a sunken city, its ruins string out before him. But as he swam closer, he realized it wasn't a city at all. It was the wreckage of an ancient ship, its cargo scattered across the seabed. Elias returned to the surface, gasping for air and shouting about what he had seen at. First, his crewmates were skeptical sunken cities, and treasures were the stuff of legend, not reality. But as more divers descended to the site, they saw it for themselves. Column statues, pottery, and fragments of what appeared to be tools and machinery, all lying in eerie silence beneath. The divers had no idea what they had stumbled upon, but they knew it was important. They began hauling pieces of the wreckage to the surface, risking their lives to retrieve artifacts that had been hidden for centuries. What they brought back to the surface would change the way we understand the ancient world forever. The wreckage lay about 150 feet below the surface, a depth that at the time was considered almost unreachable. The divers, using crude diving suits and air pumps, faced extreme danger. Every time they descended, the pressure at that depth was immense, and decompression, sickness known as the bends, was a constant threat. Yet despite these challenges, the crew was determined to uncover the secrets of the shipwreck. As they began salvaging artifacts, it became clear that this was no ordinary shipwreck. The site was filled with treasures, from marble statues and bronze figurines to pottery and glassware. Many of the statues were life-size, depicting gods, athletes, and mythical creatures, though some were broken or heavily corroded. Their craftsmanship was unmistakable. These were works of extraordinary skill, created by artisans of the ancient Greek world. One of the most striking discoveries was a bronze statue of a youth now known as the Antikythera youth, though encrusted with centuries of marine growth. Its graceful pose and detailed features hinted at the artistic heights of the Hellenistic period. Other statues included depictions of Hermes, Hercules, and other figures from Greek mythology, but the ship's cargo wasn't limited to art. Among the wreckage were everyday items like coins, and pieces of furniture. These artifacts provided a glimpse into the lives of the people who had sailed on the ship. Merchant sailors and perhaps wealthy passengers traveling across the Mediterranean. Some of the coins found at the site suggested the ship had originated in the eastern Mediterranean, possibly in Asia Minor or Egypt, and was on its way to Rome when it sank. The sheer variety of items suggested the ship had been carrying a mix of goods likely intended for trade or as gifts for wealthy patrons. Its route passing through the heart of the ancient world would have been a vital link in the Mediterranean trade network. But why had the ship gone down? Was it caught in a sudden storm? Did it collide with the rocky coastline of Anti? The answers to these questions remain elusive, lost to the waves. Then there was a strange lump of corroded metal and wood. At first glance, it appeared to be just another piece of debris encrusted with centuries of sediment, but as archaeologists began to clean and examine it, they realized it was something extraordinary. Embedded within the mass were gears, dials, and inscriptions, components of a machine unlike anything ever seen from the ancient world. This object, now known as the anti-raw mechanism, would go on to become one of the most studied artifacts in history. It was a device of stunning complexity with interlocking gears and intricate mechanisms that suggested it had been used for astronomical calculations. Some researchers believe it was capable of predicting solar and lunar eclipses, tracking the positions of planets, and even marking the dates of the ancient Olympic Games. The discovery of the Antikythera mechanism added a new layer of intrigue to the shipwreck. How had such advanced technology existed in ancient Greece? Who had built this device? And why the mechanism was so sophisticated that it wouldn't be matched until the development of modern clocks in the th century? Its presence on the ship raised profound questions about the scientific knowledge of the ancient world and how much of that knowledge may have been lost over time. The Antikythera shipwreck, with its treasures and mysteries, remains one of the most significant archaeological finds of all time. It offers a window into a world long gone, a glimpse of the artistry, innovation, and interconnectedness of the ancient Mediterranean. And yet, for all that we've learned, the wreck continues to hold secrets. Buried in the depths of the Iron Sea, what else might it reveal? The answer, like the ship itself, lies beneath the waves. Story 8: The Ghost Ship Mary Celeste, the story of the Antikythera shipwreck, reminds us how the ocean is both a time capsule and a graveyard, preserving pieces of our past while hiding untold mysteries it holds. Relics of ancient civilizations, the secrets of lost technology, and evidence of lives once lived. But sometimes the ocean mysteries aren't. Buried under centuries of sand, they're eerily frozen in time, leaving us to wonder what could have happened in 1872. A ship named the Mary Celeste was discovered drifting aimlessly in the Atlantic Ocean. Her sails were partially set, her cargo untouched, and her provisions stocked, but the crew, they were nowhere to be found. No bodies, no signs of a car. Struggle, just an empty ship silently cutting through the waves to this day. The disappearance of the Mary Celeste's crew remains one of the most chilling maritime mysteries in history. Let's set the stage for this haunting story. The Mary Celeste was not a ship that seemed destined for infamy. At first glance, it was a modest brigantine built for purpose rather than prestige. Measuring just over 100 feet long and 25 feet wide, it was neither grand nor particularly unique among the countless merchant vessels traversing the world's oceans in the 19th century. But what the Mary Celeste lacked in size or splendor, it made up for in resilience. It was a sturdy two-masted workhorse of a ship designed to carry heavy cargo across treacherous seas. Originally launched under the name Amazon in Nova Scotia in 1861, the vessel had endured its fair share of hardships even before the events that would make it infamous during its maiden voyage. The Amazon suffered damage and had to be repaired. Over the following years, it changed hands multiple times, experiencing a series of mishaps that seemed to suggest bad luck followed wherever it sailed. By 1867, the ship had run ground during the storm off Cape Breton Island, leaving it battered and abandoned. It was later salvaged, sold at auction, and given a new name, Mary Celeste. Whether this rechristening was an attempt to shake off the ship's streak of misfortune or simply a fresh start, it's impossible to say. But if the name change was meant to ward off bad luck, it didn't work. By 1872, the Mary Celeste was under the command of Captain Benjamin Briggs, a man whose reputation was the polar opposite of the ship's. Was a seasoned mariner, a captain with decades of experience navigating the unpredictable Atlantic. He was known for his meticulous nature, carefully planning every detail of his voyages and running a tight ship. Those who worked with him respected his calm demeanor and sound judgment. He wasn't the kind of man to take unnecessary risks or make hasty decisions, and he had no tolerance for carelessness aboard his ship. But this particular voyage of the Mary Celeste wasn't just another job for Captain Briggs. It was personal. Alongside the 7 crew members he had handpicked for their reliability, Briggs brought his wife Sarah and their 2-year-old daughter Sophia on board. It was unusual for captains to bring their families on such voyages, but Briggs, a deeply religious man, valued family. Above all else, the trip to Genoa, Italy was as much a reunion for Sarah and Sophia as it was a business venture for Briggs. The Mary Celeste set sail from New York Harbor on November 7, 1872, carrying a cargo of 1,701 barrels of industrial alcohol. This wasn't the kind of alcohol you drink at a tavern. It was highly flammable, volatile, and used primarily in manufacturing and industry handling. Such a cargo required careful planning and constant vigilance. But for Briggs, it was just another aspect of the job. The Atlantic crossing, while always a challenge, was a route he knew well. For the first few weeks, the voyage seemed uneventful. The weather was relatively calm for November, and the ship's log recorded steady progress as it sailed eastward toward Europe. The crew performed their duties with diligence. The Briggs families settled into their quarters, and the ship held its course. From all accounts, everything was as it should be. But as the Mary Celeste approached the Azores, something changed. To this day, no one knows exactly what happened in those final days aboard the ship. Did they encounter a sudden storm, a rogue wave, or something far stranger? All we know for certain is that by the time the Mary Celeste was discovered, the ship was abandoned and its crew and passengers had vanished without a trace. On December 4, 1872, the British brigantine De Gracia was making its way across the Atlantic en route from New York to Gibraltar. Like the Mary Celeste, De Gracia was a cargo ship, but its journey had begun weeks later, putting it several hundred miles behind Briggs' vessel. The captain of the De Gracia, David Morales, was an experienced sailor who knew the Atlantic's unpredictable waters well. On this particular morning, As the DeGraw approached the Azur's moors and his crew noticed something unusual on the horizon, a ship was drifting aimlessly in the water, its sails partially set, but slack against the wind. The vessel seemed to be moving without purpose, carried by the current, rather than directed by any hand at the helm. At first, Morales thought the ship might be in distress, a common sight in an era when storms and accidents claimed hundreds of vessels each year, but as the DeGraw drew closer, it became clear that something was deeply wrong. Through his spyglass, Morales could see no one on deck. There were no flags flying, no signals of distress, no signs of life at all. The ship's name painted on its stern identified it as the Mary Celeste. Morales was stunned. He knew Captain Briggs personally and had even dined with him before their respective voyages. The two ships had departed from the same port within days of each other. Yet here was the Mary Celeste, seemingly abandoned and adrift, concerned for the safety of the crew and passengers. Morehouse ordered a boarding party to investigate. Two sailors from the DeGraw rowed over to the Mary Celeste and climbed aboard. What they found would baffle and unsettle them and the world for generations. The ship was eerily quiet, the only sounds coming from the creaking of the wood and the lapping of waves against the hull. Inside, the cabins and cargo hold were remarkably intact. The ship's provisions, barrels of salted meat, water, and other supplies were untouched, enough to last the crew for months. The personal belongings of the crew and the Briggs family were still in place, from clothing to toys for young Sophia. Even valuables such as gold coins and navigational equipment remained undisturbed. The Mary Celeste cargo, the 1,701 barrels of industrial alcohol, was largely accounted for. Only 9 barrels were found empty, an anomaly that would later spark speculation about what might have happened aboard the ship. The ship's logbook, found in Captain Briggs' cabin, recorded the vessel's last position on November 25th, placing it near the Azores. There was nothing in the log to suggest trouble. The last entry was routine, noting the ship's position, weather conditions, and course. The most puzzling detail was the absence of the crew. Every lifeboat was missing, suggesting the crew had abandoned ship. But why the Mary Celeste was seaworthy with no signs of significant damage? There were no indications of fire, flooding, or violence. The ship seemed to have been left in a hurry, yet the reason for the crew's departure was unclear. The sailors who boarded the Mary Celeste couldn't shake the eerie feeling that clung to the ship. It was as if time had stopped the ordinary rhythms of life. Abruptly interrupted, they brought the Mary Celeste back to Gibraltar, where an official inquiry would be held to determine what had happened. But the discovery of the Mary Celeste was only the beginning of the mystery. The discovery of the Mary Celeste was just the beginning. What came next was over a century of speculation, investigation, and debate. How could a ship fully stocked and seaworthy be found completely abandoned in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean? What force, natural or otherwise, could compel an experienced captain like Benjamin Briggs to order his crew and family to leave the safety of their ship? These questions have haunted historians, sailors, and mystery enthusiasts for decades. To understand what might have happened, we must delve into the theories, some rooted in fact, others veering into the realm of the bizarre. The simplest explanation is that some natural event forced the crew to abandon the Mary Celeste. One of the most common theories involves rogue waves, enormous walls of water that can appear without warning, often caused by strong currents or sudden shifts in weather. A rogue wave could have struck the Mary Celeste, washing over the deck and causing panic among the crew. If the ship had taken on water temporarily, it might have seemed to those on board that the vessel was sinking, prompting them to launch the lifeboat. Another possibility is that the ship encountered a waterspout. A tornado over waterspouts can create strong winds and heavy rain, destabilizing ships and frightening those on board. If the crew believed the Mary Celeste was in immediate danger, they might have abandoned ship, intending to return once the weather cleared. There's also evidence to suggest the Mary Celeste may have suffered from issues with its cargo. The ship was carrying 171 barrels of industrial alcohol, a highly volatile substance. Later, investigations revealed that 9 of the barrels were empty. Some researchers have proposed that the alcohol may have leaked, releasing dangerous fumes. A spark or a small fire in the hold could have caused an explosion, or at least a sudden, terrifying flash of fire. If this happened, it's possible the crew panicked, fearing the entire cargo would ignite an abandoned ship. Interestingly, tests conducted in the 2000s simulated what might happen if alcohol fumes ignited in a confined space. These experiments showed that such an explosion could occur without leaving burn marks or significant damage, explaining why the ship appeared intact. But even with this modern evidence, we're left with a lingering question. If the crew abandoned the ship, why didn't they return when the danger passed? Another category of theories involves human conflict. Was there a mutiny aboard the Mary Celeste? It's a plausible idea. Discontent among crew members has caused countless incidents at sea throughout history. However, there's little evidence to support this theory. The ship was found in good condition with no signs of a struggle or violence. Valuable items, including gold coins, were left untouched, making a robbery or mutiny less likely. Piracy has also been suggested, but it's an odd theory considering the ship's condition. Pirates typically loot vessels for valuables, and the Mary Celeste's cargo and supplies were all intact. Additionally, piracy in the Atlantic was rare by the 1870s, as maritime law enforcement had significantly curtailed such activities. If pirates had attacked, they would have likely taken the cargo, the valuables, or at least left some sign of their presence. As with any enduring mystery, the Mary Celeste has attracted its share of paranormal theories. Some have suggested that the ship fell victim to extraterrestrial forces, with the crew abducted by aliens. Others believe the Mary Celeste encountered a supernatural event, such as a curse or a ghostly presence, which drove the crew to madness or death. While these ideas are largely dismissed by historians, they remain a popular part of the ship's lore, feeding the imaginations of writers, filmmakers, and mystery enthusiasts. There's even a connection to the infamous Bermuda Triangle. Although the Mary Celeste was far outside its boundaries when it was discovered, still, this hasn't stopped some from linking the ship to the triangle's reputation for unexplained disappearances. One of the more practical theories is that the crew abandoned the ship due to a combination of small problems that escalated into a full-blown crisis. For example, it's possible the ship's pump malfunctioned, leading the crew to believe the vessel was taking on water, combined with rough weather, alcohol fumes, or another alarming event. This could have convinced Captain Briggs that the ship was no longer safe. The lack of lifeboats suggests the crew launched one to escape the perceived danger. However, navigating the Atlantic in a small open boat would have been nearly impossible. The crew may have been swept away by strong currents, capsized in a storm, or succumbed to exposure and dehydration. If this theory is correct, the decision to abandon ship was likely a tragic miscalculation born of fear and uncertainty. In the decades since the Mary Celeste was found, modern technology and research have provided some insights, but no definitive answers. Maritime historians have analyzed the ship's design, cargo, and weather records, while forensic experts have studied the artifacts left aboard. Each piece of evidence adds a layer to the puzzle, but the core mystery remains: why did the crew leave a perfectly seaworthy ship? Even the ship's later history is marked by misfortune. After the Mary Celeste was salvaged, it returned to service under new owners, but never shook its reputation as a cursed vessel. In 1885, it was deliberately wrecked off the coast of Haiti in an apparent insurance fraud scheme, ending its troubled career. Despite its tragic end, the story of the Mary Celeste endures, has inspired countless books, films, and debates, captivating audiences with its haunting combination of facts and unanswered questions. The Mary Celeste is more than just a ghost ship. It's a symbol of the ocean's ability to humble and mystify us. Its story reminds us that even with all our technology and knowledge, the sea holds secrets we may never fully unravel. Was it a natural disaster, human error, or something we can't yet comprehend? The answer, like the crew of the Mary Celeste, remains lost to the depths. What do you think happened to the Mary Celeste? Was it a desperate decision in the face of danger, or something more sinister? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Story in the lost city of Pavlopetri. The story of the Mary Celeste is a haunting reminder of how much the sea can take from us: lives, ships, and answers. But it's not only mysteries and disappearances that lie beneath the waves. Sometimes the ocean hides the remnants of entire civilizations, places once bustling with life, commerce, and culture now preserved. In eerie silence, under layers of sand and salt water off the coast of Greece, there's another kind of maritime. Enigma beneath the calm waters lies Pavlopetri, a lost city that predates. Even the pyramids, unlike myths of Atlantis, Pavlopetri is real. It's the oldest submerged city ever discovered, and it's so well preserved that its streets, buildings, and courtyards are still intact, offering an unprecedented glimpse into a world that thrived over 5,000 years ago. Let's dive into this extraordinary tale of history, mystery, and the power of the sea in the southern reaches of Greece, where the rugged coastline meets the expansive blue of the Mediterranean Sea. The Pellaean Peninsula has long been a land steeped in history. This region, known for its myths of gods and heroes, its epic wars, and its enduring ruins, has always been a place where history and legend intertwine. But not all its secrets are found above ground. Beneath the waves of the Laconian Gulf, hidden for millennia, lies one of the most remarkable archaeological discoveries of our time, the ancient city of Pavlopetri. For centuries, fishermen and locals in the area whispered about strange shapes they sometimes glimpsed beneath the clear waters, a hint of stone walls, a shadow of a forgotten structure. But the sea guards its secrets well, and no one thought much of it after all. Ancient ruins are hardly uncommon in Greece. Who would have guessed that these fleeting glimpses were the outlines of a city that predated not only classical Greece, but even the pyramids of Egypt? The rediscovery of Pavlopetri began in 1967 when Nicholas Fleming, a British oceanographer, was conducting underwater surveys in the area. At the time, underwater archaeology was still in its infancy. Divers relied on simple equipment, and there were no sophisticated imaging tools like sonar or 3D mapping. Fleming wasn't searching for a lost city. He was simply studying the seabed. But as he dove in the shallow waters near the small beach of Pavlopetri, something unusual caught his eye. There, just a few meters below the surface, were the unmistakable shapes of man-made structures. Fleming had stumbled upon what looked like streets and buildings, the skeleton of an ancient settlement long claimed by the sea. It was an extraordinary find, but the scope of what he had discovered wouldn't become clear until the following year, when a team of archaeologists from the University of Cambridge arrived to investigate. As the archaeologists began their work, they realized they were looking at something far older and more significant than they had imagined. This wasn't just a cluster of ruins. It was a city carefully planned and remarkably well preserved. Even more astonishing was its age. Initial studies dated the site to around 1000 BC, placing it in the late Bronze Age. But as research continued, it became clear that Pavlopetri was much older, with its origins stretching back to at least 3000 BCE. This made it the oldest known submerged city in the world. What made Pavlopetri even more remarkable was its state of preservation. Unlike other ancient cities that had been eroded by time, looted, or destroyed by human activity, Pavlopetri had been shielded by the sea. Its streets, buildings, and tombs lay almost exactly as they had been thousands of years ago, offering a unique window into a world that had long since vanished. Descending into the waters above Pavlopetri feels like stepping into a time machine. Just 10 to 12 feet below the surface, the city unfolds in stunning clarity, its layout preserved as if the inhabitants had only just left for archaeologists and divers. It's an otherworldly experience walking along streets that haven't felt human footsteps in over 5,000 years. The city itself is astonishingly well organized, a testament to the ingenuity of its builders. Straight, narrow streets intersect at right angles, forming a grid-like pattern that will be familiar to modern urban planners. At the heart of the city lies a central plaza, a large open space that may have served as a marketplace or gathering area. Surrounding this plaza are clusters of buildings, some small and simple, likely homes or workshops, while others are larger and more elaborate, hinting at a public or administrative function. Archaeologists have identified at least 15 structures, though they believe many more remain buried under layers of sand and sediment. These buildings aren't random. They were carefully constructed with an aim understanding of both engineering and aesthetic stone walls, some several feet thick, define the boundaries of each structure inside. There are remnants of harsh storage areas, and even drainage systems, evidence of a society that understood the importance of sanitation and resource management. The most intriguing discoveries are the city's burial sites scattered throughout Pavlopetri are tombs containing pottery, tools, and other artifacts. These items provide a glimpse into the daily lives of the people who lived here, their diets, their trades, and even their artistic sensibilities. The pottery in particular is a treasure trove of information decorated with intricate patterns and symbols. It reflects the culture and beliefs of its creators, as well as their connections to other civilizations. Some of the designs suggest trade with distant regions, hinting that Pavlopetri was part of a larger network of Bronze Age commerce. But Pavlopetri wasn't just a city of homes and markets, it was a maritime hub. The discovery of large stone anchors and slipways for launching boats points to associate deeply connected to the sea. The city's location, nestled in a sheltered bay with easy access to the open Mediterranean, would have made it an ideal port for trade. Archaeologists believe that Pavlopetri played a key role in the exchange of goods, ideas, and culture during the Bronze Age, serving as a link between the civilizations of the Eye and the Near East and beyond. As researchers continue to explore the site, they've uncovered more and more evidence of this. Maritime activity, tools, and artifacts found in the city suggest that its inhabitants were skilled sailors and shipbuilders, capable of navigating the unpredictable waters of the Mediterranean. The city's proximity to natural resources, such as timber for shipbuilding and fertile land for agriculture, would have made it a thriving center of trade and industry. But for all its ingenuity and prosperity, Pavlopetri was not immune to the forces of nature. The city's location, so advantageous for trade, also left it vulnerable to the very element it depended on: the sea. Over time, rising water levels combined with the geological activity common in the region slowly consumed the city, submerging it beneath the waves. Walking through the ruins of Pavlopetri today, it's easy to imagine the vibrant life that once filled its streets: children playing in the plaza, merchants shouting over the prices of goods, sailors preparing their boats for a long journey. This was a city that lived and breathed, a city that thrived at the edge of the known world. And yet, like so many other ancient civilizations, it was ultimately claimed by the forces of nature, leaving behind only whispers of its story. Pavlopetri is more than just a city. It's a time capsule, a snapshot of the Bronze Age frozen beneath the sea. Its discovery has reshaped our understanding of ancient history, offering a rare and priceless glimpse into a world long lost to the depths. But even as we learn more about Pavlopetri, questions remain. Who were the people who built this city? What role did it play in the ancient world? And what secrets still lie hidden beneath the sand and water? The discovery of Pavlopetri has given archaeologists an unprecedented look into the Bronze Age. Its streets, buildings, and artifacts paint a vivid picture of a thriving, interconnected society. But while much has been learned, questions linger about its ultimate fate. Why did a city so well built, so advanced for its time, vanish beneath the waves? The answers are as elusive as the city itself, and they lie at the heart of the mystery surrounding Pavlopetri. One of the most widely accepted theories is that Pavlopetri fell victim to natural forces beyond its control. Geologically, the region around the Laconian Gulf is highly active. Earthquakes are a frequent occurrence, and the land's proximity to tectonic fault lines means even small shifts could have devastating effects. A single powerful earthquake could have caused sections of the city to collapse, creating structural instability and forcing its inhabitants to abandon their homes. Over time, repeated seismic activity might have caused the coastline to sink, leaving Pavlopetri at the mercy of the encroaching sea. Rising sea levels during the late Bronze Age are another likely culprit. Geological evidence suggests that the Mediterranean experienced a gradual but significant increase in water levels during this period. This wasn't a slow creep over centuries, but a series of rapid inundations triggered by a changing climate. Pavlopetri, situated just above sea level, may have been particularly vulnerable. It's possible the city's inhabitants tried to adapt, building sea walls or raising their structures, but these efforts would have been no match For the relentless rise of the water, another theory involves a combination of these factors. A. Natural one-two punch of earthquakes and flooding. Imagine a thriving port city, its streets bustling with activity, suddenly struck by a powerful quake. Buildings crumble to ground. Shifts in the once stable coastline begins to sink in the aftermath. Rising waters claim the ruins, leaving the city submerged and its population displaced over time. Sediment and sand bury the remains, preserving them until their rediscovery thousands of years later. But the question of how Pavlopetri was lost is only part of the mystery. The question of why it disappeared goes deeper. What role did Pavlopetri play in the ancient world? And what does its fate tell us about the people who lived there? Some archaeologists believe Pavlopetri was a hub of the Minoan civilization, one of the earliest and most sophisticated cultures of the Bronze Age, known for their elaborate palaces, vibrant art, and extensive trade networks. The Minoans were maritime pioneers. If Pavlopetri was indeed a Minoan outpost, its loss might reflect the decline of their civilization around 100 BCE. The Minoans faced a series of devastating events, including volcanic eruption, earthquakes, and invasions by outside forces. Pavlopetri may have been caught up in this turmoil, abandoned as the Minoan world collapsed. Others argue that Pavlopetri was a more localized settlement, part of a broader network of city-states that dotted the Greek coastline. If this is true, its disappearance could have been the result of more mundane factors: economic decline, resource depletion, or a shift in trade routes. Perhaps the city's harbor silted up, making it less accessible to shore. Perhaps its strategic importance diminished over time. What's clear is that Pavlopetri's story is one of resilience and fragility. It was a city built to thrive in harmony with the sea, yet it was ultimately claimed by the very waters that sustained it. As researchers continue to study the site, new discoveries may shed light on the mystery of its fate. For now, Pavlopetri remains a tantalizing enigma, a city that challenges our understanding of the ancient world today. Pavlopetri lies just beneath the surface, a silent testament to the ingenuity and adaptability of its creators. For centuries, it remained hidden, forgotten by history, and untouched by human hands. But thanks to modern technology and the dedication of archaeologists, the city has been brought back into the light, both figuratively and literally. One of the most significant advancements in the study of Pavlopetri has been the use of 3D mapping and underwater imaging. In the early 2010s, a team of researchers partnered with the Hellenic Ministry of Culture to create a detailed digital model of the city. Using high-resolution sonar and photogrammetry, they were able to map the site in unprecedented detail, revealing features that had been hidden for millennia. The resulting images are breathtaking, showing streets, buildings, and even individual stone stees in stunning clarity. These efforts have allowed archaeologists to explore Pavlopetri without disturbing its fragile remains. Unlike traditional excavation, which often involves removing artifacts and structures, digital mapping preserves the site exactly as it is, ensuring that future generations can continue to study and learn from it. But Pavlopetri isn't just an archaeological site, it's also a cultural treasure. Local communities have embraced the city as a symbol of their heritage, working to protect and promote it. Efforts are underway to designate Pavlopetri as a UNESCO World Heritage Site, a recognition that would help ensure its preservation for years to come. The rediscovery of Pavlopetri has also sparked new interest in underwater archaeology as a field inspired by the city's story. Researchers have begun to explore other submerged sites around the world, from ancient harbors in the Mediterranean to sunken temples in Southeast Asia. Pavlopetri has become a beacon for those who seek to uncover the secrets of the past, proving that even the most forgotten places can still hold incredible stories. And yet, for all its modern significance, Pavlopetri remains a mystery. Who are the people who built it? What drove them to create such an advanced city in such a precarious location? And what lessons can we learn from their triumphs and their failures? Pavlopetri's story is far from over. As technology continues to evolve, so too will our understanding of this ancient city. For now, it stands as a reminder of the delicate balance between humanity and nature, a balance that has defined our history and will continue to shape our future as we leave Pavlopetri behind. It's worth reflecting on. Its legacy: this was a city that thrived for thousands of years, a place where people lived, worked, and dreamed, and while its buildings may have been claimed by the sea, its story endures, a story of resilience, ingenuity, and the enduring power of human civilization. Story 10. The disappearance of the USS Cyclops. The story of Pavlopetri reminds us of how the sea can preserve and protect history, hiding the traces of ancient civilizations beneath its waves until they're rediscovered centuries later. But not every ocean mystery leaves behind clues. Some vanish entirely, leaving us with more questions than answers. As we move from the depths of antiquity to the modern age, we encounter another enigma, one that has baffled sailors, historians, and investigators for over a century. Unlike Latry, this mystery doesn't involve an ancient city or the slow encroachment of rising seas. Instead, it revolves around a massive ship, a wartime voyage, and a disappearance so complete that no trace has ever been found. The year was 1918, and the USS Cyclops, a colossal naval vessel, was on a routine journey through the Atlantic. On board were over 300 men, thousands of tons of cargo, and a sturdy ship built to withstand the rigors of war. But somewhere between Barbados and Baltimore, the Cyclops disappeared without a trace. There was no distress signal, no wreckage, no survivors. It's as if the ship had been swallowed whole by the ocean. What happened to the USS Cyclops? Was it a mechanical failure, a sudden storm, or something far more sinister? To this day, no one knows. Let's dive into the haunting story of the Cyclops, a ship that sailed into history and never returned. In the early 20th century, the U.S. Navy was a force on the rise with ambitions of projecting power across the globe. It was clear that naval supremacy would depend not only on warships, but also on the critical logistics that kept them operational. Enter the USS Cyclops, a behemoth of her time and a critical asset to the Navy's growing fleet. Launched in 1910, the Cyclops was one of 4 Proteus-class colliers built specifically to transport vast quantities of coal, the lifeblood of naval operations in the era of steam-powered ships. At an imposing 542 feet long and 65 feet wide, the Cyclops was a floating powerhouse capable of carrying over 12,000 tons of coal. At a time, her immense size and cargo capacity made her an engineering marvel, an indispensable tool for a navy seeking to fuel its operations across vast distances. But the mighty Cyclops wasn't just about size. Her design was ahead of its time, built for durability. Her steel hull and watertight compartments were meant to weather even the harshest seas inside. Her enormous holds were meticulously organized to maximize cargo efficiency, and while she wasn't built for speed, her top speed was a modest 15 knots. She was designed for reliability, her sturdy construction ensuring that she could handle the rigors of long voyages. By the time World War I broke out in 1914, coal was no longer the Navy's only priority. Oil was rapidly becoming the fuel of choice for warships, rendering coal less critical. But this didn't mean the Cyclops was obsolete. Instead, her role shifted. She became a multi-purpose vessel carrying not just fuel, but any cargo the Navy needed. Ammunition, supplies, even troops. In this new capacity, she became a workhorse of the fleet, a vessel that could be relied upon to deliver vital resources wherever they were needed. In January 1918, the Cyclops received a new mission. She was ordered to transport 10,800 tons of manganese ore from Brazil to the United States. Manganese was a key material for the war effort, essential for strengthening steel used in weapons and machinery. The journey would take her from Rio de Janeiro to Salvador, Brazil, and then north to Baltimore, Maryland. The Cyclops departed Rio without incident, arriving in Salvador in mid-February. After taking on her full cargo, she began a long voyage north. Her route would take her through the Caribbean, a stretch of ocean known for its calm waters and predictable weather. It was by all accounts a routine mission, one the Cyclops had completed many times before the ship made a scheduled stop in Barbados on March 3, 1918, to resupply and allow her captain, Lieutenant Commander George Worley, to file a report. By all accounts, everything seemed normal. The Cyclops was in good condition and there were no signs of trouble, she departed. Barbados on March 4th, bound for Baltimore with an expected arrival date later that month. But somewhere between Barbados and Baltimore, the Cyclops vanished. She sent no distress signal, made no calls for help, and left no trace of her passage. The massive ship, her 309 passengers and crew, and her cargo of manganese ore all disappeared as if swallowed by the ocean itself. The disappearance of the USS Cyclops was a shock to the U.S. Navy and the nation at large. This wasn't just any ship, it was a massive military vessel. Equipped with experienced sailors and built to endure the rigors of the sea, how could such a ship vanish without a trace? The mystery became an immediate focus of naval investigations, but the lack of evidence left everyone grasping at straws. Search efforts began as soon as the ship failed to arrive in Baltimore. Ships and planes scoured the Cyclops' expected route, covering thousands of square miles of ocean ports along the East Coast, the Caribbean, and South America were alerted to keep an eye out for wreckage or survivors. Wireless stations, still a relatively new technology, listened for any possible signals from the ship, but there was nothing. No lifeboats, no debris, no oil slicks. The Cyclops had seemingly disappeared without a trace. The lack of physical evidence only deepened the mystery. Normally, even in catastrophic sinkings, some form of debris, planks, life preservers, cargo eventually washes ashore, but in the case of the Cyclops, the ocean remained eerily silent. It was as if the ship had been swallowed whole by the Atlantic. Adding to the strangeness was the fact that the Cyclops had not sent a distress signal. While wireless communication in 1918 was still rudimentary, the ship was equipped with a working radio and a trained operator. If there had been time to send a distress call, why hadn't they? This raised the unsettling possibility that whatever happened to the ship had occurred so suddenly that the crew had no time to react. Over a century has passed since the USS Cyclops vanished, but the mystery remains as compelling as ever. With advancements in technology and renewed interest in maritime history, modern researchers have revisited the case, hoping to uncover new evidence or develop plausible theories that could finally explain the ship's disappearance. One of the more recent technological developments that has reignited interest in the Cyclops is the use of deep-sea exploration tools, including remotely operated vehicles, RAWs, and advanced sonar mapping systems. These technologies have allowed researchers to explore parts of the ocean that were once unreachable. While no confirmed wreckage of the Cyclops has been found, these tools have uncovered dozens of previously unknown shipwrecks in the region, demonstrating that even the largest vessels can remain hidden in the vast expanse of the ocean. Some modern theories have focused on structural issues with the Cyclops. Historical records suggest that the ship's design may have made her vulnerable to instability when heavily loaded. The manganese ore she was carrying was both dense and prone to shifting. If improperly secured, even a small shift in the cargo's weight could have destabilized the ship, causing her to capsize rapidly. This theory aligns with the absence of a distress signal. If the ship had capsized or broken apart, suddenly the crew would have had no time to react. Another line of investigation centers on Captain George Worley, whose leadership has long been a subject of speculation. Wars, erratic behavior, and questionable decisions during previous voyages have led some to wonder whether he might have played a role in the Cyclops' fate. Witnesses from earlier voyages describe him as abrasive and unpredictable, and rumors persist that his German heritage raised suspicions during a time of heightened wartime paranoia. However, there is no hard evidence to suggest that Worrell deliberately sabotaged the ship or acted maliciously. Recent studies of wartime records have also reignited the theory of enemy action during World War I. German U-boats operated extensively in the Atlantic, targeting Allied ships. While no confirmed reports link a U-boat to the Cyclops, it is possible that her disappearance was the result of an unrecorded attack. German naval records from the era are incomplete, leaving room for speculation. However, the lack of debris or survivors remains a sticking point for this theory. Typically, even in a U-boat attack, some trace of the ship would be expected to surface. The Bermuda Triangle theory, while often dismissed by scientists, continues to captivate the public imagination. The Cyclops disappeared in a region known for its association with mysterious vanishings, and some have speculated that the ship fell victim to a phenomenon unique to the area, from methane hydrate eruptions to rogue waves and magnetic anomalies. Various natural explanations have been proposed. While most of these theories remain unproven, they add an extra layer of intrigue to the Cyclops' story. One of the most compelling modern theories is the possibility that the Cyclops sank due to a combination of factors: a minor structural failure, exacerbated by her heavy load, and potentially rough seas could have set off a chain reaction leading to her rapid sinking. This theory acknowledges that the ship's disappearance may not have been caused by a single catastrophic event, but rather a perfect storm of circumstances. The Cyclops' disappearance has also inspired efforts to locate her wreckage. Organizations specializing in maritime archaeology and underwater exploration have proposed targeted searches of the ship's likely route using modern mapping technology. However, the vast size of the search area and the depth of the Atlantic Ocean present significant challenges. Despite these difficulties, researchers remain hopeful that one day the mystery of the Cyclops will be solved. Until then, the USS Cyclops remains a haunting reminder of the ocean's power to hide its secrets, whether she lies intact on the seabed or was torn apart by the elements. Her story continues to inspire curiosity and speculation. For now, we are left with questions, theories, and the enduring allure of one of history's greatest maritime mystery story. The fate of the war, the disappearance of the USS Cyclops, is a stark reminder of how even the largest, most advanced ships can vanish without a trace, swallowed by the vast and unpredictable ocean. It's a mystery that has baffled historians and researchers for over a century, leaving behind only theories and speculation. But the Cyclops isn't the only ship to meet such a mysterious fate. Nearly a decade earlier, another ship, the Waratah, often called the Titanic of the Southern Hemisphere, vanished off the coast of South Africa. Unlike the Cyclops, the Waratah was a luxury passenger liner designed for comfort and elegance. She was a symbol of modernity and progress, a ship built to conquer the seas. But in 1909, during only her second voyage, the Waratah disappeared, taking with her 211 passengers and crew. What happened to the Waratah? Was it a design flaw, a violent storm, or something more sinister? Just like the Cyclops, the war left no wreckage, no survivors, and no definitive answers. Let's dive into the story of the Waratah, a ship that set out in style and was never seen again. At the turn of the 20th century, Australia was riding a wave of optimism. A growing economy, burgeoning trade routes, and increased demand for luxury travel were reshaping the country's connections with the rest of the world. Ships weren't just vessels of commerce, they were symbols of progress and pride, linking continents and carrying people to new opportunities. Among the rising stars of this era was the Waratah, a ship designed to embody the ambition and elegance of her time. Built in 1908 by the Blue Anchor Line, the Waratah was a masterpiece of Edwardian engineering. At 465 feet long and weighing over 9,000 tons, she was the largest and most sophisticated vessel ever commissioned by the company. Her dual-purpose design aimed to strike the perfect balance between luxury and utility. Above deck, she offered first-class passengers opulence on par with the finest liners of the age. Ornate dining rooms, plush lounges, and state-of-the-art cabins catered to the wealthy elite, while more modest accommodations provided comfort for second-class travelers. But the war wasn't just a passenger liner below deck. Her massive cargo holds were designed to carry Australia's most valuable exports, wool, meat, and precious metals, making her a vital link in the nation's trade network with Europe. Her combination of grandeur and practicality earned her the nickname the Titanic of the Southern Hemisphere, a ship that represented the peak of Edwardian ingenuity. Her maiden voyage from London to Sydney in late 1908 was a success. Passengers were charmed by her luxurious interiors and smooth performance at sea. The Blue Anchor Line had every reason to celebrate their flagship vessel, which was quickly becoming a favorite among travelers and traders alike. By July 1909, the Waratah was ready for her second voyage. Departing Sydney with 21 passengers and crew on board, The ship was loaded with cargo destined for markets in Europe, and her itinerary included stops in Durban and Cape Town. Before heading into the Atlantic, spirits were high as she sailed across the Indian Ocean. Her passengers enjoyed the ship's comforts and catering, however, as the Waratah approached the southern coast of Africa. Concerns began to emerge. Some passengers reported that the ship felt unstable in rough seas, listing more than expected. Others spoke of an eerie sensation, a subtle unease they couldn't quite explain. These observations were brushed aside by the crew, but they would later take on a chilling significance. On July 26, 1909, the War departed Durban, heading for Cape Town. It would be her final voyage. The War's departure from Durban was routine passengers and crew alike were looking forward to. Reaching Cape Town, a key stop before the long journey north to London, the weather was mild, the ship was well stocked, and there were no immediate signs of trouble for those on board. It seemed like just another leg of the journey. At approximately 6 p.m. on July 27th, the War was sighted by the Clan McIntyre cargo ship traveling the same route. The two vessels exchanged routine signals, and the Waratah appeared to be in good condition, steaming steadily along the South African coastline. This brief interaction would mark the last confirmed sighting of the Waratah. After she passed out of view, she was never seen again. When the Waratah failed to arrive in Cape Town, initial reactions were cautious. Delays at sea were not uncommon in 1909, particularly along the southern coast of Africa, where unpredictable weather and strong currents were a constant challenge for sailors. But as days turned to weeks with no word from the Waratah, concern turned to alarm. Something was terribly wrong. The Blue Anchor Line, the ship's owner, quickly launched a search effort. Ships from their fleet and other vessels operating in the area were diverted to comb the waters between Durban and Cape Town. The search spanned hundreds of miles of treacherous coastline, covering the area where the Waratah was last seen by the Clan McIntyre. Crews were instructed to look for anything, debris, lifeboats, or survivors, but the search yielded nothing. Adding to the challenge was the nature of the Agulhas Current, one of the strongest ocean currents in the world, flowing southward along the east coast of Africa. It merges with the cold waters of the Antarctic Circumpolar Current, creating a volatile stretch of ocean. Shipwrecks in this region often leave little evidence, as wreckage is either swept far away or dragged deep into underwater canyons. By late August 1909, hope for finding survivors began to fade. Despite the lack of evidence, rumors started to circulate. Some claimed to have seen mysterious lights at sea, suggesting the Waratah might still be afloat, drifting aimlessly with its passengers and crew alive but stranded. Others speculated that the ship had run aground on a hidden reef or island, awaiting rescue. Theories rang change from plausible to fantastical, but none offered any concrete answers. In September, the Blue Anchor Line organized a second search, this time involving the steamer Wakefield. The Wakefield retraced the War's route, stopping at every known hazard and searching for signs of the missing ship. Once again, the effort came up empty. No wreckage, no bodies, and no clues emerged. The Waratah had disappeared as completely as if she had been swallowed by the ocean. Over the years, several other attempts were made to locate the ship. Modern technology, including sonar mapping and underwater exploration, has been used to scan the seabed off South Africa. But the area's challenging conditions have made the search extraordinarily difficult. The waters near the Agulhas Bank are littered with wrecks, some dating back centuries, making it hard to distinguish the Waratah from other lost vessels. To this day, the Waratah remains. UND discovered her disappearance is one of the most enduring mysteries in maritime history, haunting reminder of how vast and unpredictable the ocean can be. The mystery of the Waratah has captivated historians, maritime experts, and enthusiasts for over a century. With no wreckage or survivors to provide answers, the ship's fate has given rise to countless theories, ranging from the plausible to the fantastical. Here, we'll explore the most prominent explanations for the War's disappearance. One of the most widely accepted theories is that the Waratah suffered from critical design flaws. Reports from her maiden voyage in 1908 described the ship as unstable, prone to heavy listing and rough seas. Passengers and crew noted that the ship seemed top-heavy with a high center of gravity that made her vulnerable to capsizing. The War's design was ambitious, a tempting to combine luxury accommodations with massive cargo holds. Some experts believe that this combination may have made the ship inherently unstable, particularly when heavily loaded on her final voyage. She was carrying a significant amount of cargo, including tons of expensive tallow coal and heavy machinery. If this cargo shifted during rough seas, it could have caused the ship to capsize rapidly, leaving no time for a distress signal or evacuation. But the waters off the southern coast of Africa are notorious for their unpredictability. The Allah's current, combined with strong winds and storms, can create massive rogue waves, walls of water up to 100 feet high that appear without warning. These waves have been known to sink even the sturdiest ships, and the Waratah would have been particularly vulnerable if she was already unstable. A rogue wave could have struck the war with devastating force, overwhelming her and dragging her to the seabed before the crew had a chance to react. This theory is supported by accounts of other ships encountering severe conditions in the area. Around the time of the war's disappearance, while the war's Captain Joshua Illor was an experienced mariner, human error cannot be ruled out. Navigating the treacherous waters off South Africa requires constant vigilance, and even a small miscalculation could have had catastrophic consequences. If the warrior strayed too close to the coastline or encountered an uncharted hazard, she could have run or been wrecked. Some accounts suggest that Captain Allure may have been overconfident in the ship's capabilities, dismissing concerns about her stability. Others point to the possibility of miscommunication or faulty equipment contributing to the disaster, while less likely the idea of sabotage or foul play has been suggested. Over the years, the whale was carrying valuable cargo, including precious metals, which could have made her a target for piracy. However, no evidence of such an attack has ever been found, and piracy in the region was rare during this period. The war's disappearance has also fueled more fantastical theories, including the idea that the ship was swallowed by a supernatural force or entered another dimension. Some have linked her fate to the legends of the Bermuda Triangle, despite the fact that she disappeared thousands of miles away. While these theories lack scientific backing, they highlight the enduring allure of maritime mysteries and the human desire to explain the unexplainable. The most straightforward explanation is that the Waratah lies at the bottom of the ocean, her wreckage undiscovered due to the challenging conditions of the search area. The Aulus Bank is a treacherous region with strong currents, deep canyons, and a history of shipwrecks. It's possible that the Waratah rests in one of these canyons, hidden from view and waiting to be found. Despite extensive searches and countless theories, the fate of the war remains unknown. Her disappearance is a stark reminder of the ocean's power to keep its secrets, even in an age of advanced technology. For the family, 1,111 people on board, the lack of closure is a haunting legacy, a question that lingers unanswered over a century later. The war didn't just vanish, it left behind a mystery that's still pulling people in. And over a century later, her story isn't just about what might have happened to her. It's also about what we've learned since, how she changed the way we think about ship design, and how she's kept researchers searching the depths for answers. Even today, when the war disappeared, it forced people to ask tough questions about ship design. Back then, engineers were pushing boundaries, building bigger, more ambitious ships that could do more than ever before. But sometimes ambition outpaces caution. The Waratah was meant to balance luxury with utility, serving as both a passenger liner and a cargo ship. That balance, however, might have been her undoing. Reports from her maiden voyage already hinted at problems. People said she listed heavily in rough seas and felt top-heavy after she disappeared. Those concerns became a case study in what not to do when designing ships. Engineers began paying much closer attention to weight distribution and stability, lessons that are still critical today. The tragedy also highlighted just how dangerous it is to cut corners or dismiss early warnings. It's one thing to hear a ship might feel a bit off in the water, but it's another to ignore that and send her back out into unpredictable seas. The war story is a harsh reminder of how quickly things can go wrong. The war has earned a permanent spot in the Hall of Maritime Mysteries. She's often mentioned in the same breath as other legendary vanishings, like the Mary Celeste or the Flying Dutchman, part of what makes her story so compelling is the complete lack of evidence. No debris, no lifeboats. Nothing. It's like she just evaporated. That kind of mystery captures the imagination in a way few stories can over the years. Her disappearance has inspired countless books, documentaries, and investigations, and with each passing decade, the fascination grows. Her story isn't just about one ship. It's a reminder of how vast and unpredictable the ocean is even. In the modern age, with all our technology, the sea can still keep its secrets. The search for the Waratah hasn't stopped, and modern technology is giving researchers tools that would have been unimaginable in 1909. Today, we've got advanced sonar systems, remotely operated vehicles, RAWs, and even underwater drones that can map the ocean floor with incredible precision. These tools have already uncovered shipwrecks that were thought to be lost forever, so there's reason to hope they might eventually find the Waratah sonar. Mapping is one of the most promising methods. By scanning the seabed around the Agulhas Bank, the last known area where Waratah was seen, researchers can identify shapes and anomalies that might be wrecked. The waters off South Africa are notoriously difficult to search because of strong currents and underwater canyons, but sonar can cut through those challenges. If a promising target is found, RAWs could be sent down to investigate. These underwater robots can capture high-definition footage and even retrieve artifacts, giving researchers a clear look at what's down there. The war might still be sitting intact on the seabed, waiting to be found. Machine learning and AI are also changing the game. These technologies can analyze huge amounts of sonar data and pick out patterns that might indicate a shipwreck. Instead of searching blindly, researchers can focus their efforts on the most likely areas. Even with all this technology, finding the Waratah is easier said than done. The Agulhas current is one of the strongest in the world, capable of dragging wreckage miles away from where a ship originally went down. The seabed in the area is also littered with other wrecks, some dating back centuries, making it tough to distinguish one ship from another. Funding is another hurdle. Deep sea searches don't come cheap, and without solid leads, it's hard to convince governments or private organizations to invest in such an uncertain venture. But despite these obstacles, the Waratah remains a tantalizing target for researchers. What keeps people coming back to the Waratah story is more than just a mystery. It's the human element. The 21 people on board weren't just passengers or crew. They were families, workers, and travelers, all with their own hopes and stories. Their disappearance is a reminder of how unforgiving the sea can be and how little control we truly have when faced with its power. Her story also taps into something universal: our fascination with the unknown. How could a ship that large just vanish? What happened in her final moments? These questions don't just haunt maritime historians, they resonate with anyone who's ever wondered about the mysteries of the deep. And while we may not have answers yet, the search for the war continues. Each new piece of technology brings us a little closer to solving the puzzle. One day we might finally uncover what happened to the Titanic of the Southern Hemisphere. Until then, the Waratah remains a symbol of the ocean's enduring power to hide its secret story. 12. The Phantom Submarines of World War II. As the story of the Waratah leaves us wondering about the vast and unpredictable ocean, it's time to turn our attention to another maritime mystery, one that emerged not from the age of luxury liners, but from the shadowy depths of World War II. This is the story of the Phantom submarines, unseen predators that haunted coastal waters, confounded alive forces, and to this day leave us questioning what really happened beneath the waves. World War II wasn't just fought on battlefields and in the skies, it was waged across the vast oceans, where the stakes were just as high and the dangers just as unpredictable. From the icy waters of the North Atlantic to the tropical expanses of the Pacific, submarines played a critical role. These stealthy, silent predators lurked beneath the waves, disrupting supply chains, sinking enemy vessels, and sometimes changing the course of battles entirely. But amidst this high-stakes underwater warfare, strange accounts began to surface. Literally and figuratively, reports emerged from naval crews, merchant mariners, and military officials of submarines operating where none should have been. These weren't just rumors whispered among sailors. The sightings were documented, tracked, and in some cases engaged by allied forces, yet the objects responsible seemed to defy logic. The term phantom submarine began to spread, especially among crews who had experienced these mysterious encounters firsthand. These were not your typical U-boats or Japanese Cyclops submarines. They appeared faster, more maneuverable, and capable of disappearing without a trace. Sometimes they left radar screens inexplicably moving at speeds that technology of the era couldn't explain. Other times ships would engage a target, drop depth charges, and find nothing, no wreckage, no oil slick, no debris. It was as if these vessels had simply dissolved into the ocean. Adding to the unease was the global scope of these sightings. In the North Atlantic crews patrolling the frigid waters of Iceland and Scotland reported strange sonar contacts that seemed to toy with them. In the North Sea, cargo ships were shadowed by silent dark shapes. In the warmer waters of the Pacific, used destroyers encountered underwater craft that moved so quickly they couldn't be pursued. These weren't isolated incidents, but a pattern spanning the war's theaters and timelines for naval commanders. These reports posed a chilling question. What were these submarines? Were they experimental weapons, enemy vessels, or something else entirely? And perhaps most unsettling of all, why couldn't they be caught? One of the earliest and most unsettling encounters occurred in 1942 off the coast of Iceland. A British destroyer patrolling the area for German OT picked up an unusual sonar contact. The object was large, bigger than any U-boat on record, and moved with an agility that shouldn't have been possible for such a size. Thinking they had stumbled upon a new type of enemy submarine, the crew prepared for battle. Depth charges were dropped, explosions rippled through the icy waters, and then silence. When the crew scanned the surface, there was nothing. No wreckage, no oil slick, no evidence of a submarine ever being there. This wasn't an isolated incident. Around the same time, a Norwegian cargo ship reported being followed for days by an unidentified submarine in the North Sea. The crew described how the submarine appeared to surface at night, shadowing the ship at a distance. Its presence, almost ghostly attempts to radio for help, were met with static interference, a tactic often used by German used to block communication. But when Allied ships arrived to investigate, they found no trace of the mysterious vessel. It had disappeared as suddenly as it appeared in the Pacific. Encounters grew even stranger near Guadalcanal. In 1943, a U.S. destroyer picked up sonar readings of a fast-moving object beneath the waves. The crew, trained to deal with Japanese submarines, was shocked at the target's speed and evasive maneuvers. Torpedoes were fired, but the target seemed to predict every move, dodging each shot. Eventually, the contact vanished from radar altogether, leaving the destroyer crew baffled. The pattern of these encounters was always the same: an unidentified submarine behaving in ways that defied the capabilities of any known vessel, followed by a sudden and complete disappearance. These weren't the kinds of encounters that could easily be dismissed as false alarms or overactive imaginations. Crews were trained to recognize submarines, to distinguish between natural phenomena and real threats. The precision and consistency of these reports made them hard to ignore. But not all encounters were purely technical. Some sailors described strange feelings of being watched or followed, even when no visible submarine was detected. There were accounts of eerie lights beneath the waves glowing faintly before fading into the deep. In one instance, a ship's hydrophone operator tasked with listening for underwater activity reported hearing what he described as metallic whispers, faint and mechanical, echoing through the water. The source of the sound was never identified. Adding to the intrigue were the areas where these encounters occurred. The North Atlantic, for instance, was a hot spot for sightings, particularly in regions notorious for rough seas and unpredictable weather. The waters off the coast of South Africa, near the Agulhas Bank, were also home to multiple unexplained incidents, as were sections of the Pacific Ocean near Japan and the Philippines. These regions shared one common factor: they were vast, remote, and difficult to patrol, effectively making them ideal hiding places for anything or anyone seeking to avoid detection. One particularly chilling encounter occurred in 1944 near the WWII Islands. A Japanese cargo vessel reported being followed by an unidentified submarine for over 48 hours. The crew, unable to shake their pursuer, eventually abandoned the ship, fearing an imminent attack, but when Allied forces arrived to investigate, they found the cargo vessel drifting peacefully untouched. The mysterious submarine was gone, leaving no sign it had ever been there. As reports piled up, so did the questions. If these submarines were experimental enemy designs, why weren't they being deployed more widely? If they weren't enemy vessels, what were they? And perhaps most unsettling, how could something so large and advanced disappear without a trace again and again? Even after the war ended, the mystery didn't fade. Declassified naval records revealed even more encounters, some of which have been kept secret to avoid causing panic or revealing weaknesses in naval defense systems. But these records offered no answers, only more tantalizing pieces of the puzzle. The phantom submarines remain just that, phantom, slipping through the cracks of history and logic. The reports of phantom submarines during World War II have baffled naval historians and enthusiasts for decades. Unlike traditional wartime mysteries that often point to a singular cause, the phantom submarine phenomenon is so varied and strange that it has spawned a range of theories, some grounded in fact, others veering into the fantastical. One of the most widely accepted theories is that these phantom submarines were experimental enemy designs, part of a secret arms race that pushed the boundaries of technology. Germany and Japan, in particular, were known to be working on advanced submarine prototypes. The German Type 21 U-boat, for instance, was a revolutionary design with superior speed and underwater endurance, capable of operating longer without surfacing. This electric boat was considered years ahead of its time and is often cited as the blueprint for modern submarines. Similarly, Japan's 5400 class submarines were marvels of engineering. These were the largest submarines built during World War II and were designed to carry and launch aircraft, a concept unheard of at the time. Could some of these advanced submarines have been deployed secretly during the war, operating in waters where they weren't expected? It's possible, but even these cutting-edge designs had limitations. They couldn't match the speeds or evasive maneuvers reported in many encounters, leaving this theory with unanswered questions. Another plausible theory is that these submarines belong to new neutral nations or rogue operators conducting covert missions. Sweden, for instance, maintained a fleet of submarines during the war, and its position in the Baltic Sea made it a key player in intelligence gathering. Some speculate that neutral countries may have been quietly operating submarines in contested waters, either for espionage or to protect their own interests. However, this theory also raises questions. Neutral nations would have been wary of being caught operating in wartime zones, as it could have jeopardized their neutrality. Furthermore, there's little evidence to suggest that any neutral or rogue submarines were capable of the feats described in these encounters. Skeptics argue that many of these sightings could be explained by misidentifications, wartime conditions, stress, fatigue, poor visibility could have caused sailors to mistake natural phenomena for enemy submarines. Large schools of fish, underwater volcanic activity, or even drifting debris might have been misinterpreted as a submarine's movements. The technology of the time also had its limitations. Sonar and radar systems were relatively primitive by today's standards, prone to false positives and glitches. Some sonar operators might have picked up reflections from underwater terrain or biological noise, mistaking them for enemy vessels. This theory makes sense for some incidents, but falls short of explaining the more detailed and consistent accounts, the precise descriptions of evasive maneuvers, jamming signals, and other sophisticated behaviors are hard to dismiss as mere errors or illusions. Then there are the theories that venture into the unknown. Some researchers have suggested that these submarines may have been part of secret projects so advanced they remain classified. Even today, could governments have developed technology during World War II that was decades ahead of its time, only to keep it hidden after the war? It's not impossible. Many Cold War innovations had their roots in experimental wartime projects, and it's conceivable that some designs were abandoned or deemed too risky to reveal. Others take this theory even further, speculating that the phantom submarines weren't human creations at all. The idea of unidentified submerged objects, USOs, essentially UFOs underwater, has gained traction in recent years. Proponents argue that the speed, agility, and elusiveness of these vessels could point to technology beyond human capabilities. While this theory is far from mainstream, it underscores the sheer mystery surrounding these encounters. Another intriguing possibility is that some of these reports were part of deliberate disinformation campaigns during World War II. Psychological warfare played a significant role in spreading rumors of advanced enemy technology could have sown fear and confusion among Allied forces. It's possible that some reports were exaggerated or fabricated to serve this purpose. However, this theory doesn't account for the widespread nature of the sightings or the consistency of the descriptions. The phantom submarines of World War II have left a lasting impression, not just on naval history, but on our understanding of the ocean as a vast, mysterious frontier. These encounters remind us of how little we truly know about the depths and what might be lurking there. Despite decades of technological advancements, the ocean still holds secrets that defy explanation. The reports of phantom submarines had a significant impact during the war, influencing naval strategies and policies. The fear of unknown or superior technology forced navies to adapt, investing heavily in sonar research, anti-submarine tactics, and countermeasures. These advancements laid the groundwork for modern underwater warfare and the technologies we rely on today. The mystery also underscored the challenges of ocean surveillance. Even with today's advanced sonar systems and satellite tracking, vast stretches of the ocean remain virtually unmonitored. The idea that something or someone could operate undetected in these waters isn't just plausible, it's probable. In recent years, renewed interest in World War II mysteries has prompted researchers to revisit the phantom submarine phenomenon. The classified military records, combined with advances in sonar and underwater exploration, have provided new insights into some incidents, yet many remain unsolved. Could the phantom submarines have been prototypes that sank or were decommissioned before their secrets could be revealed? Could they still rest on the ocean floor waiting to be discovered? These questions continue to drive searches and investigations, keeping the mystery alive. What makes the story of the phantom submarine so compelling is its universality. It's not just about war or technology, it's about the human fascination with the unknown. These submarines represent more than a wartime enigma. They're symbols of the ocean's enduring power to keep its secrets from sailors who glimpse shadows beneath the waves to modern researchers scanning the seabed. The allure of these mysteries remains as strong as ever, and as long as the ocean continues to conceal its depths, the story of the phantom submarines will remain a haunting reminder of what we've yet to uncover. Story 13. The eerie mystery of the Kaz II. As the story of the phantom submarines fades into the depths of maritime legend, we turn to a mystery that feels eerily closer to home. A story of an abandoned vessel left adrift on calm waters with no sign of its crew. This isn't a tale of wartime shadows or technological enigmas. Instead, it's a modern-day ghost ship that raises questions as haunting as they are unanswered. This is the story of the Kaz II 9.8M catamaran, found eerily deserted in the pristine waters of the Great Barrier Reef in 207, often called Australia's Mary Celeste. The Kaz II has baffled investigators and armchair sleuths alike. How could an experienced crew vanish from a stable, well-equipped boat under perfect sailing conditions? What happened to the three men aboard? Let's dive into the mystery of the Kaz II and the strange circumstances surrounding its disappearance. The C2 wasn't a ship meant for global headlines. It was modest but capable 9.8M catamaran, the kind you'd expect to see cutting quietly across the turquoise waters of the Australian coast. Built for comfort and ease of use, it was perfect for leisure sailing and long coastal journeys. Owned by 56-year-old Derek Baton, the boat was his pride and joy, a vessel meant to explore Australia's stunning coastline, not to vanish into one of its greatest maritime mysteries. In April 20th, 2007, Derek set out on what should have been the adventure of a lifetime. Joining him were his two close friends, brothers Peter and James Tunstead. Derek was an experienced sailor, having spent years navigating Australia's waters. The Tunstead brothers, though less seasoned, were no strangers to the sea. Together, the trio planned to sail the C2 from Shoal Harbour in Queensland to Perth on the west coast, a journey that would take them through some of the most beautiful and Sometimes challenging waters in the world, the plan was simple: follow the coastline, stop at ports along the way, and enjoy the sights. The journey wasn't meant to be rushed, it was more about the experience, the camaraderie, and the beauty of the open sea for Derek, Peter, and James. This was a chance to unwind, to bond, and to take in the breathtaking sights of the Tets. Great Barrier Reef and beyond, they stocked the boat with provisions, checked their gear, and ensured the Kaz II was seaworthy for the long trip ahead. April 15, 2007, dawn bright and clear under a sunny sky, the C2 left chute. Harbor, its sails full and its crew relaxed and smiling. Local witnesses saw the three men on deck waving as they passed by. The sea was calm, the weather forecast was favorable, and spirits were high for those on shore. It was just another peaceful day in paradise. But the sea, as it so often does, can turn paradise into something else entirely by the time the Kaz II disappeared into the horizon. It had unknowingly set sail on a journey that would baffle investigators, haunt maritime historians, and leave a trail of unanswered questions. 3 days later, on April 18, 2007, a helicopter pilot flying over the Great Barrier Reef spotted the Kaz II. At first glance, it seemed to be sailing as expected, its white sails visible against the endless blue of the ocean. But as the pilot watched, something seemed off. The boat wasn't moving in a straight line. Instead, it was drifting aimlessly, its sails flapping loose in the wind. The sighting was reported, and maritime authorities quickly dispatched a rescue crew to investigate. When they boarded the Kaz II, they were met with a scene that was as eerie as it was puzzling. The boat was completely intact with no signs of damage or distress. The engine was running, humming softly, as if the crew had just stepped away. The onboard GPS and radio systems were functional, but the boat's most important feature, its crew, was missing. Inside the cabin looked as though it had been frozen in time. A half-empty cup of coffee sat on the table next to a pile of neatly folded clothes. A laptop top was open, its screen glowing faintly. The ship's logbook contained recent entries, the last one recorded just hours before the Kaz II was found in the kitchen utensils. Provisions were neatly stored, untouched. A fishing line trailed off the back of the boat, still attached to a lure glinting in the sunlight. Yet despite this unsettling anomaly, there were a few small clues that hinted at trouble. One of the sails was torn, flapping unevenly in the breeze. A life ring was missing, though the life jackets were still on board. But beyond that, there was nothing to suggest what might have happened to Derek, Peter, and James. No blood stains, no signs of a struggle, no damage to the boat that would indicate a collision or capsizing. It was as if the men had simply vanished into thin air. To the rescue crew, the scene was profoundly unsettling. The Kaz II wasn't a derelict. It was a fully operational vessel floating peacefully in calm waters, with all its systems intact. The absence of the crew only deepened the mystery. Why had they left the boat? Where had they gone? And why hadn't they used the distress signals or emergency equipment on board? Authorities immediately launched a search and rescue operation, combing the waters around the Kaz II for any signs of the missing men. Planes, helicopters, and boats scoured the area, covering hundreds of square miles. But the ocean is vast, and the Great Barrier Reef, with its labyrinth of coral reefs and channels, is one of the most complex and challenging regions. The search days turned into weeks, and the search yielded nothing. No bodies, no wreckage, no answers. The discovery of the Kaz II and the absence of its crew sent shock waves through Australia. Media outlets quickly dubbed it Australia's Mary Celeste, drawing comparisons to the INF 19th century ghost ship found adrift in the Atlantic. The similarities were striking. Both vessels were found fully intact with no sign of their crew, and both left behind a trail of unanswered questions that continue to perplex investigators to this day. For the families of Derek, Peter, and James, the discovery of the Kaz II offered no closure. Instead, it marked the beginning of a long, agonizing wait for answers that have yet to come. How could three experienced sailors disappear from a stable, seaworthy boat under calm conditions? What happened in those 3 days between their departure and the boat's discovery? And perhaps most hauntingly, why did they leave the boat at all? The mystery of the Kaz II deepened as investigators delved into the details. The absence of clear evidence meant that every piece of information, or lack thereof, became crucial to understanding what might have happened. But rather than narrowing down the possibilities, each new clue seemed to open more questions. Authorities examined the GPS logs from the boat, hoping to reconstruct the events leading up to the crew's disappearance. The log showed that the Kaz II had been traveling normally until April 16th, the day after it left Chute Harbor. On that day, the boat's movements became erratic. Instead of following a straight course, it appeared to drift aimlessly, sometimes circling back on itself. This pattern continued until its discovery on April 18th. One of the most perplexing clues was the fishing line trailing off the back of the boat. It suggested that at least one of the men had been fishing before they disappeared. Could someone have fallen overboard while trying to reel in a catch? If so, why didn't the others throw a life ring or use the emergency equipment to save him? And why were the life jackets left untouched? The state of the boat itself offered few answers. The torn sail hinted at rough weather or a sudden squall, but weather reports for the area showed calm seas and mild conditions during the time frame of the disappearance. The running engine and the neatly maintained cabin indicated that whatever had happened was sudden and unexpected. There was no sign that the men had prepared to abandon ship, which made their absence all the more baffling. The possibility of foul play was also considered. Could the crew have been intercepted by another vessel? Piracy, though rare in WWII waters, wasn't entirely out of the question. However, the boat showed no signs of a struggle, and no valuables were missing. The idea of an external threat seemed unlikely, but couldn't be completely ruled out. Then there was the unsettling idea of a freak accident. The C2's location near the Great Barrier Reef raised the possibility that the crew might have been swept overboard by a rogue wave or sudden gust of wind. The torn sail could support this theory, suggesting that the boat encountered more forceful conditions than initially reported. But again, why didn't the men use the life jackets or activate a distress signal? The most chilling theory, however, was that all three men might have fallen victim to a sequence of small, unrelated events that spiraled into disaster. Perhaps one man fell overboard while fishing, and the others, in their attempts to save him, were also lost. This chain of events would explain the eerie enormity of the scene on board: the running engine, the neatly folded clothes, the open laptop. It wasn't the result of a single catastrophic event, but a slow unraveling that left the boat adrift and its crew gone. Despite extensive investigations, no definitive answers have ever been found. The ocean, vast and unforgiving, keeps its secrets. Well, the Kaz II remains a haunting reminder of how even the most experienced sailors can vanish without a trace, leaving behind only questions. The Kaz II has earned its place in maritime lore, often compared to the infamous Mary Celeste. Both stories share a haunting similarity: fully intact vessels found adrift, their crews mysteriously absent. But while the Mary Celeste was a 19th century enigma, the Kaz II is a modern mystery unfolding in an age of advanced technology and communication. The fact that such a disappearance could happen in 2007 under calm conditions and with a well-equipped boat makes it all the more unsettling for the families of Derek, Peter, and James. The Kaz II is a symbol of grief and unanswered questions. The boat itself, now forever linked to their memory, serves as a stark reminder of how quickly the sea can turn from beautiful to deadly, despite exhaustive searches and investigations. No trace of the men has ever been found for their loved ones. The lack of closure is a wound that time can't heal. The Kaz II has also become a cautionary tale for sailors and adventurers. It underscores the importance of preparation, vigilance, and understanding the unpredictable nature of the ocean. Even the most experienced sailors, equipped with the best technology, are not immune to the danger of the sea. The boat's condition, pristine and functional, yet eerily empty, highlights the thin line between safety and disaster. In the years since its discovery, the Kaz II has captured the public's imagination. Documentaries, books, and articles have explored its mystery, offering theories and speculation, but no concrete answers. The story continues to intrigue maritime historians and mystery enthusiasts alike, a ghost ship adrift in the annals of nautical history. In an era of satellite tracking and advanced underwater exploration, one might wonder if modern technology could one day solve the mystery of the Kaz II. While the boat itself has been thoroughly examined, the vast waters surrounding the Great Barrier Reef remain largely uncharted. Advances in sonar mapping and autonomous underwater vehicles OVs might provide new insights into the area, revealing clues that have remained hidden for over a decade. Additionally, modern data analysis techniques could be applied to the GPS logs and weather data from the time of the disappearance, creating a more detailed picture of the events leading up to April 18, 2007. Perhaps these tools could uncover a pattern or anomaly that has been overlooked. But even with these advancements, the ocean remains a formidable and mysterious place. The Kaz II and its missing crew serve as a stark reminder that some mysteries may never be fully solved. The sea, vast and unknowable, guards its secrets with an unyielding grip. Story 14, The Treasure of the Flor de la Mar. As the story of the Kaz II fades into the vastness of maritime lore, we steer our journey to a tale that blends history, adventure, and the allure of unimaginable wealth. It's the story of one of the most famous treasure ships in history, a vessel so laden with gold and riches that its loss still echoes across the centuries. Unlike ghost ships that vanish mysteriously, this ship's fate is known, yet it has never been found. Its name, Flor de la Mar. The Flor de la Mar was more than just a ship. It was a symbol of the age of exploration, a floating vault carrying the spoils of conquest and a key piece of Portugal's maritime empire. When it sank off the coast of Sumatra in 1511, it took with it one of the largest treasures ever amassed, a treasure so vast that treasure hunters still pursue it to this day. What happened to the Flor de la Mar, and why has its treasure remained hidden for over 500 years? Let's set the scene for one of the most legendary shipwrecks of all time. To understand the story of the Flor de la Mar, you have to step back into an era where the seas were the highways of empires. The early 16th century was the golden age of exploration. It was a time when nations like Spain and Portugal raced to map uncharted territories, claim distant lands, and establish lucrative trade routes. The oceans weren't just barriers, they were opportunities offering riches beyond imagination for those daring enough to navigate their dangers. Portugal was at the forefront of this maritime revolution with its advanced shipbuilding techniques, skilled navigators, and royal backing. It had carved out an impressive empire stretching from Europe to India, Southeast Asia, and Africa. The country's explorers brought back spices, silks, and precious metals, commodities that would fuel Europe's economy for centuries. To come at the heart of this empire was a fleet of ships designed for long voyages and heavy cargo. Among them was the Flor de la Mar, a massive Portuguese carrack built in 1502 at over 400 tons. She was a marvel of her time, a testament to the ingenuity and ambition of Portuguese shipbuilders. Her size made her ideal for transporting large quantities of goods, but it also made her difficult to maneuver. The ship was notorious for being top-heavy, prone to instability and rough seas. Despite this flaw, she was a workhorse of the Portuguese Empire, ferrying valuable cargo between the colonies and the homeland. The Flor de la Mar wasn't just a trading vessel, it was a symbol of Portugal's dominance on the seas. Her voyages were more than commercial endeavors, they were political statements showcasing the empire's ability to conquer lands and control global trade. By 1511, the ship had already served for nearly a decade. A seasoned veteran of the high seas that year, the ship was assigned to a mission of unparalleled importance. Portugal's forces, led by the formidable Alonso de Albuquerque, had captured the Sultanate of Malha, a thriving trade hub and a key link in the spice trade. The victory was a major coup, solidifying Portugal's control over Southeast Asia and opening up new routes for its merchants. As part of the spoils of conquest, the Flor de la Mar was loaded with extraordinary treasure, gold, jewels, and priceless artifacts taken from Malha's rulers. The value of this cargo was staggering even by today's standards. It wasn't just wealth, it was a demonstration of Portugal's newfound power and influence. The treasure was meant to be delivered to King Manuel I in Lisbon, a gift that would cement his authority and celebrate the empire's achievements. For Albuquerque, this mission was more than just a voyage. It was a chance to secure his legacy. But as the Flor de la Mar set sail, the vast and unpredictable ocean had other plans. When the Flor de la Mar departed from Malha in November 1511, her mission was clear: carry the spoils of conquest back to Portugal. The ship was heavily laden with treasure, more than she had ever carried before. Gold, silver, pearl, and jewels filled her cargo hold, while priceless artifacts from Mala's royal court were carefully stowed. It was a fortune so immense that it could have funded armies, built palaces, or even reshaped the balance of power in Europe. But the ship wasn't just carrying treasure. On board were Alonso de Albuquerque and a small contingent of his men. Exhausted but triumphant from their campaign in Southeast Asia, for Albuquerque, the Flor de Lamar represented not just a return home, but a culmination of his achievements. As the ship sailed into the Strait of Mala, he likely believed he was nearing the end of a successful chapter in his career. The Strait of Malacca, however, is one of the most perilous waterways in the world. Even today, its treacherous currents, shifting sandbanks, and sudden storms make it a challenge for sailors in the 16th century. Navigating the strait was an even greater ordeal, especially for a ship as cumbersome as the Flor de Lamar. Her size, while advantageous for carrying cargo, made her difficult to handle in tight or shallow waters. The first few days of the voyage were uneventful. The weather was calm and the ship moved steadily through the strait. But as the Flor de Lamar approached the coast of Sumatra, the conditions began to change. A storm rode in, bringing strong winds and heavy rain for Albuquerque and his crew. This was a familiar challenge. They had faced storms before and had always emerged unscathed. But this time, the combination of the ship's overloaded cargo and the unpredictable seas created a perfect storm of disaster. As the wind howled and the waves grew larger, the Flor Deemer struggled to maintain her course. The crew worked desperately to keep the ship steady, adjusting the sails and trying to steer clear of hazards. But the storm's force was too great. The ship was pushed off course, her massive hull vulnerable to the shifting currents of the strait. Late on the night of November 20th, disaster struck the Flor de Lamar. Hit a reef, her hull splintering on the jagged rocks. Water poured into the ship, flooding her cargo hold and threatening to pull her under. The crew scrambled to save what they could, but the situation was hopeless. The ship was sinking, and the treasure that had been so carefully loaded onto her was now at the mercy of the sea. Albuquerque and a handful of survivors managed to escape on a lifeboat, navigating through the storm to reach the coast of Sumatra. But for most of the crew and for the Corps, treasure, the Flor de Lamar was a watery grave. As the storm subsided and the first light of dawn illuminated the strait, the ship was gone, swallowed by the ocean. The sinking of the Lee Flor de Lamar was a devastating loss for Portugal. The treasure she carried would never reach Lisbon, and her wreck became one of the most sought-after prizes in maritime history. But the exact location of the ship was never confirmed, and despite centuries of searching, the Flor de Lamar remains undiscovered to this day. The final voyage of the Flor de Lamar is a story of ambition and hubris, a reminder of how even the most powerful empires can be humbled by the forces of nature. But it's also a story of mystery, one that continues to capture the imagination of treasure hunters, historians, and adventurers. What happened to the treasure? And could it still be out there waiting to be found? The loss of the Flor de Lamar and its legendary cargo has sparked centuries of theories and speculation. The ship sank in 1511, but what happened to its treasure remains a tantalizing mystery. Despite numerous attempts to locate the wreck, the riches it carried have never been recovered. Historians, treasure hunters, and maritime experts have all tried to unravel the puzzle, offering a range of theories that reflect the lure and complexity of this centuries-old enigma. One of the most prominent theories is that the treasure still lies in the Strait of Malacca, buried beneath layers of silt and sand. The strait is known for its shifting seabed, powerful currents, and treacherous conditions, making it one of the most challenging places on Earth to conduct underwater searches. Some researchers believe that the Flor de Lamar was torn apart as it sank, scattering its cargo across the seabed. Over time, these riches could have been buried by sediment or carried away by the relentless currents. This theory explains why no definitive trace of the ship or its treasure has ever been found, despite extensive searches. Another theory suggests that parts of the treasure may have been salvaged in the years following the wreck. Local fishermen and divers who were familiar with the water of the Strait of Mala may have discovered pieces of the cargo and quietly removed them. If this happened, it's possible that some of the treasure ended up in private collections or was sold off piece by piece, disappearing into the shadowy world of illicit antiquities trading. This would make tracing the treasure virtually impossible, as there would be no official record of its recovery or sale. There are also theories that point to the involvement of Portuguese authorities or rival colonial powers the Flor sank during a period of intense competition among European empires, and some speculate that the treasure may have been recovered secretly and used to fund political or military ambitions. While there is no concrete evidence to support this idea, it's a possibility that adds another layer of intrigue to the story. Modern treasure hunters have brought new technology and techniques to the search for the Flor. Advances in sonar mapping, underwater robotics, and satellite imaging have made it possible to explore areas of the ocean that were once inaccessible. Some expeditions have claimed to be close to finding the wreck, citing anomalies on the seabed that could be remnants of the ship. However, the conditions in the Strait of Mala, poor visibility, strong currents, and the sheer volume of shipwrecks in the area have made these searches extraordinarily difficult. Then there are the more fantastical theories. Some believe that the Flor is cursed, protected by supernatural forces that ensure its treasure will never be found. This idea, while lacking any scientific basis, has captured the imagination of many and highlights the almost mythical status of the ship and its cargo. The story of the Flor is more than just a tale of lost gold. It represents a pivotal moment in the age of exploration, a time when European empires were expanding their reach across the globe and competing for dominance on the high seas. The ship's loss was a significant setback for Portugal, but it also served as a reminder of the risks and challenges that came with maritime conquest. For treasure hunters, the Flor is the ultimate prize. Its cargo is believed to be one of the largest treasures ever lost at sea, and its recovery will be a monumental achievement. The search for the ship has inspired countless expeditions, from professional salvage operations to amateur treasure hunts. Each new effort brings the hope of finally solving the mystery. Even as the ocean continues to guard its secrets, the Flor has also left a lasting impact on maritime archaeology and the study of shipwrecks. The search for the ship has pushed the boundaries of technology and exploration, leading to new discoveries about the ocean floor and the history of seafaring. While the ship itself remains elusive, the efforts to find it have contributed to our understanding of the past and the techniques needed to study it culturally. The story of the Flor has become a symbol of human ambition and the allure of the unknown. It's a reminder of how the ocean, vast and unpredictable, can challenge even the most advanced ships and seasoned sailors. The ship's legacy is one of both triumph and tragedy, a testament to the heights of human achievement and the humbling power of nature. In recent years, the legend of the Flor has inspired books, documentaries, and films, bringing its story to new audiences. The idea of a lost treasure waiting to be discovered continues to captivate the imagination. Whether or not the ship and its cargo are ever found, the Flor will remain one of the most enduring mysteries of the sea. The advent of modern technology has renewed hope that the Flor might one day be found. Tools like side-scan sonar, submersible drones, and magnetometers have revolutionized underwater exploration, making it possible to map and search the ocean floor with unprecedented accuracy. These advancements have already led to the discovery of other long-lost shipwrecks, raising the possibility that the Flor could be next. However, the search remains daunting. The Strait of Mala is one of the busiest shipping lanes in the world, and its waters are filled with debris and wrecks from centuries of maritime activity. Distinguishing the Flor from other wrecks is a painstaking process requiring careful analysis and verification. There's also the question of who would have the right to claim the treasure. If it were found the wreck lies in a politically sensitive region, and multiple countries could potentially lay claim to the ship and its cargo. These legal and logistical challenges add another layer of complexity to an already difficult search. Yet despite these obstacles, the allure of the Flor remains as strong as ever. The ship's story continues to inspire adventurers, historians, and dreamers, a reminder that some mysteries are worth pursuing even if they may never be solved. the Flor de Lamar is more than just a shipwreck. It's a legend, a symbol of humanity's drive to explore, conquer, and uncover the unknown. Story 15, the mystery of the Devil's Sea, as we leave behind the tale of the Flor de Lamar and its treasure lost to the shifting sands of history. We shift our focus to another maritime enigma. This time it's not a single ship or a legendary treasure. It's an entire region of the ocean that has baffled sailors, scientists, and historians for centuries. Known by many names, the Dragon's Triangle, Mono Yumi in Japanese, or more. Commonly the Devil's Sea, it's a place shrouded in mystery, danger, and legend, located in the Pacific Ocean near Japan's southeastern coast. The Devil's Sea is often compared to the infamous Bermuda Triangle, but where the Bermuda Triangle carries tales of vanishing ships and planes in the Atlantic, the Devil's Sea has its own chilling history. It's a region where ships disappear without a trace, compasses go haywire, and strange phenomena defy explanation. Is it a natural hotspot for seismic activity, a zone of magnetic anomalies, or something far more mysterious? As we explore the history of the Devil's Sea, we'll uncover stories that seem too strange to be true yet are rooted in real events. Let's dive into one of the ocean's most haunting mysteries. The Devil's Sea, often referred to as the Dragon's Triangle or Mono Yumi in Japanese, lies in the Pacific Ocean just south of Tokyo and stretching toward the northern reaches of the Philippine Sea. At first glance, it might seem like an ordinary stretch of water, a busy maritime route surrounded by lush islands and bordered by one of the world's most bustling nations, but beneath its surface lies a reputation that has haunted sailors, fishermen, and explorers for centuries. In Japanese folklore, this region was long considered a place of otherworldly danger. Ancient legends told of enormous dragons rising from the depths to devour ships and their crews, leaving behind only swirling waves. An eerie silence, fishermen shared chilling tales of boats that ventured into the area, never to return. Maps from the early days of Japanese seafaring often marked this region with ominous symbols of visual warning to stay away. These stories, while steeped in mythology, served a practical purpose, highlighting the very real dangers of navigating this volatile stretch of ocean. But the Devil's Sea wasn't just feared by ancient mariners in the modern era. It earned comparisons to the infamous Bermuda Triangle, like its Atlantic counterpart. The Devil's Sea became infamous for the strange and unexplained disappearances of ships, planes, and their crews. And while the Bermuda Triangle captures more attention in the West, the Devil's Sea has an even deeper historical significance in Japan and neighboring countries. The area's dangers are partly due to its location. The Devil's Sea sits along the Pacific Ring of Fire, a geologically active zone where tectonic plates collide, leading to frequent earthquakes and volcanic eruptions. The waters are unpredictable, with sudden storms, rogue waves, and strong currents, making navigation treacherous, even for modern vessels. But what sets the Devil's Sea apart is its reputation for strange, almost supernatural phenomena. Ships have reported compasses spinning wildly, lights appearing over the water, and eerie silences that seem to defy the usual sounds of the sea. These accounts have fueled speculation and fascination for generations. By the mid-20th century, the Devil's Sea had become a subject of international intrigue. Its infamy reached a peak in the 1950s when a series of disappearances brought the region into the global spotlight. Among these was the mysterious loss of the Kiyomaru No. 5, a Japanese research vessel sent to investigate the very phenomena that had made the area so notorious. This incident, combined with the region's already ominous reputation, cemented the Devil's Sea as one of the world's most mysterious and dangerous places. In 1952, the Japanese government decided to confront the mysteries of the Devil's Sea. Hidden at the time, the region's reputation for strange disappearances was causing widespread concern among fishermen, shipping companies, and even the military. Some vessels had vanished without a trace, while others reported bizarre occurrences like sudden equipment failures or glowing lights hovering above the water. To address these concerns, and separate fact from fiction, the government launched an official expedition into the heart of the Devil's Sea. The Kiyomaru No. 5 was chosen for the mission, a state-of-the-art research vessel. It was equipped With advanced instruments for studying seismic activity, magnetic anomalies, and underwater currents, the ship's crew included seasoned sailors and a team of scientists, all tasked with uncovering the truth about the region's strange phenomena for Japan. This was more than just a scientific endeavor. It was a chance to reclaim a vital maritime route and restore confidence in the safety of its waters. The mission began with high hopes. The Kyo Maru No. 5 departed from Japan and headed south, its crew eager to collect data and solve the riddle of the Devil's Sea. For the first few days, everything seemed routine. The ship reported back regularly, detailing their progress and observations. But as the vessel ventured deeper into the region, things took a darker turn. On September 24, 1952, all contact with the Kyo Maru No. 5 was lost. Attempts to reach the ship by radio were met with silence initially. There was hope that the ship's communication equipment had simply malfunctioned, a common issue in the Devil's Sea, where magnetic anomalies were known to interfere with navigation and radio signals. But as hours turned into days, it became clear that something far more serious had occurred. A massive search effort was launched. Japanese naval and air forces scoured the region searching for any sign of the Kyo Maru No. 5 or its crew. The operation was one of the largest of its kind, involving ships, planes, and hundreds of personnel. Eventually, searchers discovered fragments of wreckage floating in the water, confirming that the ship had met with disaster. But the exact circumstances of its loss and the fate of its crew remained a mystery. No bodies were recovered, and the bulk of the ship's remains were never found. The disappearance of the Kyo Maru No. 5 was a devastating blow, not just for the families of the lost crew, but for the entire nation. It reinforced the idea that the Devil's Sea was a place where the normal rules of navigation and survival did not apply. Theories about what had happened to the ship ranged from plausible to extraordinary. Some suggested it had been caught in a volcanic eruption or a sudden undersea earthquake, both of which are common in the region. Others believed it had fallen victim to a rogue wave, a towering wall of water that could easily sink even the sturdiest vessel. But then there were the more unusual explanations. Some speculated that the Kyo No. 5 had encountered something truly otherworldly, perhaps a UFO or an unknown sea creature. These theories, while lacking evidence, gained traction among those who believed the Devil's Sea was a place of supernatural power for the Japanese government. The loss of the Kyo Maru No. 5 marked the end of their official investigation into the Devil's Sea. The region was declared a danger zone, and maritime activity in the area was severely restricted. One of the earliest and most legendary disappearances in the Devil's Sea dates back to the 13th century. During his ambitious attempts to invade Japan, Kyon, the Mongol emperor and grandson of Genghis Khan, assembled a massive fleet of ships. In 1274 and again in 1281, he launched invasions, each involving thousands of ships and tens of thousands of soldiers. The second invasion was particularly immense, with an estimated 4,000 ships crossing the sea toward Japan. But both invasions ended in catastrophe, according to historical accounts. The fleets were struck by powerful typhoons as they crossed the waters near what is now known as the Devil's Sea. The storms destroyed much of Kwan's armada, sinking countless ships and drowning thousands of soldiers. The Japanese referred to these storms as kamikaze or divine wind, believing they were a sign of divine intervention protecting their homeland. While historians agree that typhoons were likely responsible for the fleet's destruction, some researchers argue that the Devil's Sea may have played a role. The area's volatile weather patterns, strong currents, and seismic activity could have contributed to the disaster. The loss of Kukane's fleet remains one of the most dramatic maritime tragedies in history and is often cited as an early example of the Devil's Sea's deadly reputation in the mid-20th century. As Japan industrialized and its fishing industry expanded, the Devil's Sea became a critical fishing ground. But with the increased activity came a disturbing pattern. Fishing boats began to vanish. Between 1949 and 1953, at least 9 Japanese fishing vessels disappeared in the region, leaving no trace of wreckage or survivors. These disappearances alarmed the public and drew the attention of the Japanese government, eventually leading to the ill-fated Kyaru No. Pita expedition. The fishing boats were small and vulnerable to The area's extreme conditions, but the sheer number of vanishings over such a short period raised questions. Were they simply victims of the sea's natural hazards, or was something more sinister at play? Fishermen who survived close calls in the region reported strange phenomena, including sudden changes in weather, glowing lights in the sky, and compasses spinning erratically. These accounts added to the growing mystique of the Devil Sea and reinforced the belief that it was a place where normal rules did not apply during World War II. The Pacific Ocean was a theater of intense naval activity, and the Devil Sea was no exception. Amid the chaos of war, several Japanese and Allied ships reportedly vanished in the region under mysterious circumstances. While many of these losses can be attributed to wartime combat, some accounts defy conventional explanation. Japanese naval records include reports of warships encountering strange magnetic anomalies in the Devil Sea, causing their navigation equipment to malfunction. One ship allegedly became so disoriented that it returned to its starting point after sailing in circles for days. In another instance, an Allied aircraft carrier passing through the area reportedly picked up an unidentified signal, only for the source of the signal to vanish without a trace. These incidents, though difficult to verify, add to the lure of the Devil Sea. They suggest that even the advanced technology of the wartime era was no match for the region's unpredictable and potentially supernatural forces. Another mysterious disappearance tied to the Devil's Sea involves the Shinomaru, a Japanese cargo ship that vanished in the early 20th century. According to reports, the Shinomaru was traveling through the region when it disappeared. Without sending a distress signal, no wreckage was ever found, and no survivors emerged to tell the tale. What makes the Shinomaru particularly intriguing is that it was reportedly carrying a shipment of rare and valuable artifacts, sparking speculation that its disappearance may have involved foul play. Some theorists believe the ship was targeted by pirates or smugglers, while others suggest it may have been caught in a free freak storm or a rogue wave. Whatever the cause, the Shinomaru remains one of the many ships to have vanished in the Devil Sea, leaving behind only questions. While most of the Devil Sea's legends involve ships, there have also been reports of aircraft disappearing over the region. Pilots have described sudden turbulence, strange lights, and radio interference while flying through the area. In some cases, planes have vanished entirely with no wreckage or survivors ever found. One notable case occurred in the 1940s when a Japanese reconnaissance plane reportedly disappeared during a routine flight over the Devil Sea. The plane's last transmission was garbled and incoherent, suggesting that its crew may have encountered something unusual. Despite extensive searches, no trace of the plane was ever discovered. The Devil Sea's history of disappearances has left an indelible mark on maritime and aviation history. While modern science offers plausible explanations for many of these incidents, ranging from extreme weather to underwater volcanic activity, the region's reputation as a place of danger and mystery endures the loss of ships like the Karu. Number 5. The disappearance of fishing boats and the tales of strange phenomena remind us of the ocean's vast and unpredictable nature. Whether the Devil Sea's secrets are rooted in science folklore or something beyond our understanding, it remains a place that captures the imagination and stirs a sense of wonder. Story 16. The mystery of the Ningen. The ocean is vast, and despite all the myths and mysteries we've explored, there are still places where the unknown lingers just beneath the surface. From the strange vanishings of the Devil Sea, we now turn to something even more elusive, something that isn't just a place, but a presence, a creature so strange that those who claim to have seen it are left questioning their own eyes. It's pale, massive, and eerily human-like, but it's not human. It moves silently beneath the waves, only surfacing in the dead of night or in the freezing waters of the Antarctic. It's been spotted by whaling crews, whispered about by researchers, and buried in classified reports. Some say it's an undiscovered species. Others say it's something we were never meant to see. This is the mystery of the Ningen, a deep-sea enigma that might just be more than a legend. The Southern Ocean is one of the most inhospitable places on Earth. It's a frozen abyss where temperatures drop so low that exposed skin freezes in minutes. Towering icebergs drift endlessly, their jagged forms concealing what lies beneath. There are no permanent settlements here, no cities, just research stations, military outposts, and the occasional whaling vessel braving the bitter cold. It's in these waters that the first sightings of the Ningen were reported. According to accounts, Japanese whaling crews patrolling the Antarctic began encountering something impossible at first. They thought it was just another iceberg, one of many floating in the distance. But as they got closer, they realized it was moving, not drifting, swimming. The thing was enormous, some say. Over 100 feet long, but it wasn't a whale, and it wasn't a fish. It was something else. A pale human-like shape gliding just below the surface. Some reports describe long limb-like appendages reaching out of the water. Others claim they saw what looked like a face, then just as quickly as it appeared, it was gone, slipping back into the deep, as if it had never been there at all. But those who saw it knew better, and when these stories made their way back to Japan, the legend of the Ningen began to spread. Unlike most sea legends, the Ningen isn't based on ancient folklore. It's a modern mystery. The first whispers started in the early 2000s when alleged crew members from Japanese government research vessels began discussing strange encounters in Antarctic waters. Their stories made their way onto online forums where the legend of the Ningen exploded into public consciousness. But here's where things get strange. The Japanese government has never officially commented on it. Some believe that's because the Ningen isn't just a myth, it's classified. There are theories that Japanese research bases have encountered something unusual in the Southern Ocean, that somewhere deep in government files there are photos, recordings, proof of the Ningen's existence. But if it's real, what is it? Descriptions vary, but there are common details: pale, almost translucent skin, massive size, up to 100 feet long, a human-like shape with what appear to be arms, legs, and even facial features. It moves silently, blending into the ice before disappearing into the depths. Some believe he is an undiscovered species of whale. Giant ray, its features distorted by the water and the human imagination. Others think it could be a deep-sea creature that only surfaces under rare conditions, explaining why sightings are so scarce. And then there's the darker theory. What if the Ningen isn't an animal at all? What if it's something else, something we weren't meant to see? There are stories, unconfirmed but unsettling, of the Japanese military conducting classified research in Antarctica. Some believe that the Ningen might be an unknown biological entity, a life form so strange that governments are actively keeping it secret. Others link it to USOs, unidentified submerged objects, strange craft seen moving at impossible speeds beneath the ocean's surface. Could the Ningen be connected to something much bigger, or is it just another legend born from the unknown depths? The mystery of the Ningen is one of the most compelling modern ocean OIC enigmas, largely because it straddles the line between cryptozoology, conspiracy, and genuine scientific curiosity. Unlike many creatures of folklore, which have roots in centuries-old legends, the Ningen is a purely modern mystery, one that emerged from the internet age, fueled by first-hand accounts, blurry photographs, and whispers of government secrecy. But could there be a logical explanation? Or is this one of those cases where the truth is stranger than fiction? Some researchers believe the Ningen could be a case of misidentification, that what whalers and researchers have seen in the frigid Antarctic waters are simply known marine creatures mistaken for something far stranger. The Southern Ocean is home to some of the world's largest and most elusive sea life, including giant squid, colossal jellyfish, and the enormous sleeper sharks that patrol the depths. Of marine biologists suggest that, under the right lighting and conditions, these creatures, especially if they breach the surface or move erratically, could create the illusion of a massive humanoid form. Others point to whales or manta rays, whose pale undersides could resemble the Ningen's supposed white featureless body. In particular, beluga whales, which are uniquely suited to Arctic waters, are known for their bulbous heads, flexible bodies, and pale coloring, though none reach the sheer skin of the Ningen. But here's where things get interesting. Unlike other cryptids, which are often dismissed outright by scientists, the Ningen has a strange aura of secrecy surrounding it. Most accounts come from Japanese government research vessels, which has led some to speculate that there's classified evidence of something out there, something worth keeping hidden. This theory hinges on reports that certain online discussions about the Ningen have been removed or buried, particularly on Japanese forums, where alleged first-hand accounts originally surfaced. Some have even claimed that Japanese government agencies have quietly discouraged discussions about the Ningen, leading to speculation that it might not be a cryptid at all, but a real undocumented species lurking in the Southern Ocean. Then there's the more conspiratorial angle. Some researchers point out that the Antarctic region is one of the most restricted places on Earth, with various international treaties preventing private exploration. Could it be because something unusual has been found there? The Ningen, according to these theories, isn't just an animal but a biological entity so bizarre that its discovery would challenge our understanding of life on Earth. Some even go as far as to suggest that the Ningen might not be from Earth at all. The connection between the Ningen and USOs, unidentified submerged objects, has only added to its legend. Reports of massive, fast-moving objects beneath the Antarctic waters have fueled speculation that the Ningen is somehow linked to something even more mysterious. Some believe it's an advanced, undiscovered life form capable of surviving in conditions that would kill most creatures. Others suggest it might be an extraterrestrial biological entity, something that has been here far longer than we have, hiding beneath the waves. It's a theory that might sound outlandish until you realize just how little we actually know about the ocean, and that's the real heart of the mystery. The ocean is the last truly unexplored frontier on Earth. We've mapped more of the moon's surface than we have of the deep sea. We have no idea what might be lurking in the deepest, darkest parts of the ocean, and the Ningen could be just one of many strange life forms we've yet to properly document. With its pale humanoid appearance, it strikes a me primal chord, something eerily familiar yet impossibly alien. It's the kind of story that sticks with you because it forces you to wonder what else is out there, despite its relatively recent origins. The legend of the Ningen has become one of the most enduring modern sea mysteries, drawing comparisons to legendary cryptids like the Lochen monster, the Kraken, and the Megalodon. Unlike those creatures, however, the Ningen exists in a space between myth and potential reality, with just enough credible witness reports to keep the debate alive. Story has made its way into popular culture with Japanese television specials, online documentaries, and even fictionalized adaptations in anime and manga exploring the Ningen's eerie existence. The creature has also inspired artists and storytellers who depict it as a ghostly, otherworldly being gliding silently through the depths. Some describe it as a guardian of the Antarctic, a mysterious entity that keeps watch over the frozen wasteland, appearing only to those who stray too far into the unknown. But the real question remains, is the Ningen real, or is it a case of maritime legend fueled by the power of the internet? Until someone captures definitive proof, video footage, biological samples, or undisputed first-hand testimony, it remains a mystery, one that will continue to haunt the deep. And perhaps that's for the best, because if something that massive, that silent, that utterly inhuman is really out there, maybe we're better off not knowing. The Ningen remains one of the strangest mysteries of the deep, an enormous pale entity lurking beneath the waves, seen by only a few, but speculated on by many. Whether it's an undiscovered species, a case of mistaken identity, or something beyond our understanding, one thing is certain: the deeper we go into the ocean, the stranger things get. And the Ningen is just one of the many massive, unexplained creatures that might be lurking in the abyss, because the deeper you go, the bigger things seem to get. This isn't just legend, it's a real biological phenomenon known as deep-sea gigantism. Giant squids longer than Buss's crabs, the size of trash cans and isopods, that look like something out of an alien horror film. It's a mystery of evolution that defies logic. Why do creatures that live in the most extreme food-scarce environments on Earth grow to such enormous sizes? And what else is down there that we haven't even seen yet? Let's dive into the bizarre science of deep-sea gigantism, one of the ocean's strangest and least understood biological mysteries. The ocean is vast, so vast, in fact, that we've explored more of the surface of the moon than we have of our own deep sea. The deeper we go, the stranger things get. Creatures with glowing skin, translucent bodies, and jaws lined with needle-sharp teeth, But there's something else about the deep that defies logic downwhere. The pressure is crushing where food is scarce, and where life should stay small to survive, the exact opposite happens. Instead of shrinking down to conserve energy, some creatures grow to monstrous sizes far bigger than their shallow water relatives, crabs with legs wider than a grown man is tall, squid longer than school buses, isopods the size of house cats. Crawling along the seafloor like relics from another time, this isn't just a coincidence. It's a phenomenon as deep-sea gigantism, and scientists have been trying to figure out why it happens for years. Maybe you've heard of the Japanese spider crab, a nightmarish-looking arthropod with a leg span of over 1-2 t, making it the largest known crab on Earth, or the colossal squid behemoth that dwarfs its more famous cousin, the giant squid with the largest eyes of any known animal, and hooks instead of suckers lining its tentacles. And then there's the giant isopod, a deep-sea relative of the pillbug that scuttles along the ocean floor. Like a prehistoric monster reaching sizes over 2 feet long, it doesn't make sense, right? You'd expect crater creatures living in cold, lightless, and food-deprived environments to evolve to be small, compact, and energy-efficient, yet these deep-sea organisms are massive. But the real question is why scientists have debated the reasons behind deep-sea gigantism for decades. And while no single answer has been confirmed, there are a few leading theories that could explain this bizarre evolutionary trend. One idea is that low temperatures, slow metabolism allowing creatures to grow for a much longer period before reaching maturity. Essentially, the cold acts as a biological time dilator, making deep-sea animals grow slowly but steadily over the course of decades, or even centuries. Then there's the theory that larger bodies conserve energy better, a crucial advantage in an environment where food is incredibly scarce. Bigger animals can store more energy, move more efficiently, and survive longer between meals. And then there's the predator-prey arms race. In the deep-sea, encounters between predator and prey are rare, so when they do happen, the stakes are high. A larger body size makes a creature less likely to be eaten, in some cases better equipped to take down rare, hard-to-catch prey. But maybe the most interesting theory is that the deep sea has fewer evolutionary constraints than surface waters. Up in the shallows, organisms have to deal with crowded ecosystems, fierce competition, and constant environmental shifts. But down in the depths, it's a lawless wasteland where the strongest survive by growing bigger, slower, and stranger. The deeper you go, the bigger the unknowns become. We've already discovered some massive deep-sea creatures, but what about the ones that are still hiding for years? There have been rumors of something much, much bigger living in the deepest trenches of the ocean. The most famous theory, the megalodon. Megalodon was the largest shark to ever exist, a prehistoric predator that could reach lengths of 60 feet or more. Officially, it went extinct around 3.6 million years ago, but some believe that remnants of the species could still be lurking in the deep. The ocean is so vast, and we've explored so little of it that some researchers argue it's possible that unlikely that a deep-sea relative of megalodon could still exist in the abyss, hiding in uncharted trenches where food is scarce and few humans venture. Then there's the possibility of deep-sea creatures we haven't even theorized, yet scientists estimate that over 80% of the ocean remains unexplored. In recent years, entirely new species of massive deep-sea creatures have been discovered, including the giant siphonophore, a 150 feet long deep-sea predator that looks like a living rope of jellyfish. If something that big could go unnoticed until recently, what else is down there? Deep-sea gigantism is one of nature's greatest mysteries of Paris, a phenomenon that defies expectations and challenges our understanding of evolution. It's a reminder that despite all our advancements, the ocean still holds secrets we haven't even begun to uncover. What else is lurking in the deep? Could there be even larger creatures waiting to be discovered? Could the Ningen, if it exists, be an example of extreme deep-sea gigantism? Or is it possible that something even stranger is waiting for us down there? One thing is certain: the ocean is a world beyond human control, a vast and untamed frontier where evolution follows its own rules. And as long as we keep searching, the deeper we go, the bigger the mysteries become. So what do you think? Is deep-sea gigantism just an Evolutionary quirk, or are there monsters in the deep? We've yet to find. Let me know in the comments below. The mysteries of the ocean are as vast and endless as the seas themselves, from the haunting tales of ghost ships to the enigmatic regions like the Devil's Sea. These stories remind us of the power and unpredictability of the world's waters. Despite all of our technology and exploration, the ocean still holds secrets that defy explanation, whispering to us from the depths. Which of these mysteries captured your imagination the most? And what do you think? Are these tales the result of natural forces, or do they hint at something more extraordinary? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this deep dive into some of the ocean's most puzzling enigmas, don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more stories of the unexplained. There's so much more out there waiting to be uncovered, and we're just getting started. Stay curious, keep learning, and remember, the ocean may give, but it can also take. Until next time, stay safe.